All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Orion Rising. I'm your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. Share this out, share this out, share this out. All right, it's Friday night. The Law of One. Welcome. Let me pull down this banner here. I got the banner up over here. Let me take that down so you can see my ugly mug. Let me put myself up into full screen so you're not staring at that. Welcome. Okay, share this out, share this out. Get this out to everybody and say hello to me in the chat. Brooke, welcome. Welcome. All right, get this shared out to everybody so we can get some people in here. Where are they? Where is everybody? Get them in here. All right, it's Friday night, Law of One, or it's Saturday, depending on where in the world you are, right? I don't think anybody is still Thursday. Nope, because I'm on California time, so everybody is already past me, except for Hawaii and Alaska. And I think a couple of islands, the Aleutian chain, and a couple islands in the Pacific. Otherwise, we're the last in line in Close to it. Cassie, welcome. Like I said, share this out, guys. Share it out. Get it out there. Get people, tag them, get them in here. What's going on? Where are they? What the hell? Okay. So it's Friday, the Law of One. I don't know exactly what question we were on. I remember last week we were going to start the session 76 or 7 or whatever it is, 76. But I don't remember if we started it because I had to rush away because I don't know if you guys remember my mother who has dementia was needing to use the restroom and get in the shower. So I had to get her in the shower. So we're just going to start at the beginning of 76. I got that primed and ready to go. Like I said, get everybody in here. If you don't say hello in the chat, I just see numbers. I don't know who's in here. We are live on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I've already shared to 3 different places, 4 if you count my page on Facebook. So share that out to a bunch of people. Get them all in here. Okay. So the 76, session 76, we're going into a full moon. Full moon today is the 7th, 5 days. Full moon on the 12th. It is a snow moon, a leopard moon. Yeah, snow leopard moon. I think they called it a leopard moon. No, it's a wolf moon. It's a snow wolf moon. My bad. So snow wolf moon coming up. So that's going to be, for those of you on the North American continent or on the northern hemisphere of the planet, it's wintertime and it's usually snowing. And that's why the natives called it a snow moon, but it's a snow wolf moon. So it's a white wolf moon. For those of you who are paying attention, if you're native, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not all native. I'm 5%, but that's more than most people in this continent these days, it would seem. Right? Cody, welcome. Fiona, welcome. Paulie, welcome. If I missed anybody, I apologize because I just happened to look over at the chat. So go ahead and, like I said, share this out. Click your friends, get your friends in here, everybody. Okay, so we're going to just start with the Law of One. There's nothing else really going on. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff going on in the world, but, right, we're not going to get involved in all of that right this second. Geopolitics, forget about that. Yeah, snow wolf, right? Thank you, Cassie. Yeah, snow wolf. I know I said leopard and then realized wolf. Yeah, snow wolf. So it's a white wolf moon. For those of you who are drawn to the wolf, and for those of you who are drawn to the white wolf, it's going to be a white wolf moon, snow wolf moon on the 12th. It's going to be cool. All right. So the energy's been crazy. Let's go over that. The energy's been crazy for a lot of you. out there since January, literally since January 1. The energy has been really intense. I warned you guys about this in December. Jacqueline and I warned you guys about this in December when she did her Global Ambassadors event that Cassie and I were both on, talking on. We warned you guys that 2025 is a 9-year. It's also a masculine year. So the energy was going to be pretty intense in the beginning of the year, right? 2026 will be a feminine year, so it'll be a different energy. It'll be more loving and caring. But this year is going to be a little more aggressive. It has been for the first 2 full moons of this year. We're not quite into the second full moon yet, and a lot of you out there are having issues with everything, including your physical body, including your mental state, including your emotional state. That's normal. Just hold on and ground yourself and center yourself as much as you can, because it's a wild ride in the beginning until we hit spring. So right now we're in the middle of winter, so we still have another month and a half before the fall starts to break. So once we hit March, then it'll go from snow to cold rain and ice and sleet and stuff like that until we get into April, and then it'll start warming up again. So then you'll get a little bit different energy until you get into the summer again, like normal. In the summertime, when everything starts to burn, that's the waning of the green man, as the green man goes from green to the autumn colors. So as you go through the summer, you won't hear as much from your guides and your higher self during that time. People don't realize that. So now you had the winter, and then you had that cold time. This is the cold time where it's harder to make contact with your guides and your higher self. So you have to really work hard at that, because it's really difficult to communicate right now, because it's supposed to be. It's the wintertime for those of you who are on the north, still rules the planet. Even if you're on the southern hemisphere, it still feels the same. You feel that almost abandoned. You feel that warmth of that blanket, but you feel a little weary this time of year because the life comes back in the springtime. So when spring hits, and those of you who are living in the southern hemisphere, if you guys actually lived by the southern hemisphere's part of the planet's order, instead of living by the European order, you guys would be in the middle of summer right now, and it would be a completely different feeling for you. But most of the people that live below the equator live by a northern hemisphere year instead of the southern hemisphere year. You guys should be living wintertime when it's your wintertime, and living summertime when it's your summertime, instead of going, during Christmas thinking it's Christmas and cold and snow, because it's not. It's hot from the middle of your summer. So you guys do Christmas in the middle of the summer anyways, but there's some people in the northern hemisphere that still live on that, and they'll do Christmas in July because of it, and they're up here. And the reason they do that is because they're from down there. So wherever you're from, I was born in the northern hemisphere, so even if I move to the southern hemisphere, I'm going to be running on that clock. But I'll try to, if I do that, I'll try to change, because the southern hemisphere is opposite and the energy is opposite. And if you want to be in tune with nature, you have to be in tune with that. So don't feel bad if you're down there in the other part of the other side of the equator, and everybody up here is talking about Christmas time and the snow and all of that. You could still do Christmas if you're a Christian, or if you're more importantly a Viking or a Celt in the same time period. But you should be living with the nature of the nature of nature where you live. You should always do that and not forget about nature, and stay within the natural cycle of wherever it is that you're living. Chandra, welcome. I think I said hello to Fiona, didn't I? Fiona, welcome. So Penny, welcome. I don't think I said hi to Penny. Welcome. So pay attention to that, right, guys? You should be always in tune with the local nature of wherever it is that you live, because that's going to be what the planet is giving you. That's what nature is trying to give you. So instead of running your life outside of nature and trying to bend nature to your will, you can do that with the calendar. So the calendar of events, so you do Christmas at the same time as everybody else does Christmas. And I can see that, but you should be, dressing for Christmas, wearing shorts and a tank top. instead of in any other way trying to be just like the Europeans, because they're the ones that are trying to dictate this global. I mean, the time zone is Greenwich Mean, and that was designed by Europeans, and now that's what everybody calls the global time. And the calendar is the same. They set the calendar. Christmas is in December. And for those of you living down there under, any kind of under the equator, anywhere in any country, including South Africa, India, all across the world there, even the Philippines. I think most of the Philippines are below the equator. Yes, they are. So, you guys should be living by that half of the planet and the cycle of that half of the planet, instead of following along with this global empire that thinks they own the world, and they're dictating to you with the energy, which is stifling half of the energy of half of the people on the earth, because in that time when they should be in the opposite region, in the opposite, instead of winter being in summer, you're still kind of acting like you're in winter, because that's what's going on in the north, and that's what they're doing to people with advertisement and with programming on television, on the social media. Right. Fiona said our sun's been extra hot. Yeah. Right. And I believe that, this time of year in where we're at in the universe, which, I talk about I talked about this last week, where, they're talking about how climate change is because of, cow farts and our cars, yet they own the factories that are pumping all the carcinogens into the air, but you have to watch what you're doing, and you can't fly on an airplane, but they have private jets that they fly around on that burn up, far more of a carbon footprint than you'll do in your entire life. But yet they're yelling at you about that stuff. And all of that, is a lie, and it's all designed to distract you and to, not let you believe the truth. The truth is, we humans aren't supposed to be on this planet. This planet, Gaia, has evolved, and third dimensional life forms were not supposed to be living here anymore. It's supposed to be 1, 2, 4, and 8. And the third dimensional life has been trapped here by these oligarchs that think they own this planet, that are doing this to you on purpose, and nobody's graduating. So because you're being stuck here, the planet is uncomfortable and doesn't understand what's going on, because Gaia is not conscious, right, or conscious. Or self-aware. Gaia is conscious, but not self-aware. And because of that, the planet doesn't understand, and that's what's causing it. It's not because of something we're doing physically with our garbage and our emissions in the air. That's not helping, but that's not what's causing all of this extra heat and extra fires and storms and earthquakes and volcanoes and floods. All of that is being done because we're a flea on a dog's back, and the dog is trying to scratch us off because we're not supposed to be there, and it's irritating. And that's the truth of it. So they tell you a little bit of truth with their lies. We humans are causing this. We are, but with our energy, not with our physical energy, with our spiritual energy, with our energy of our vibration of being here, not by the things that we're pumping into the atmosphere. There is a little bit of that. That doesn't help, right? With all the plastics, they're now finding microplastics in all humans' brains, because it's going to collect in there. It's the new aluminum. Aluminum, when everybody was drinking out of aluminum and eating out of aluminum, started collecting in the human brain, and it caused Alzheimer's and dementia in all old people. The amount of people that have that around the world are now a little over half. It's almost that. In America, it's more than that, because of the food over here being so poisonous. So like my mother and almost everyone I know that's above the age of 60, 65, 70 in this country has that problem. Those of us who were aware of that are making sure that we had changed our diet to keep most of that out. Well, now we can't do anything about the plastic. It's in the food source. It's in the water worldwide, in the water supply worldwide, in the food source. So they don't know what the ramifications of microplastics in the brain is going to cause, whether it's going to be a DNA problem, whether it's going to be a worse a problem than Alzheimer's, or if it's not going to affect us at all. They don't know what it's going to do. But I would suggest that plastic is not conductive of electricity. So at the very least, if it gets caught in the brain in some way, it's going to start clogging up the neural pathways. However, the neural pathways won't have the microparticles in them. So it should still be okay. With the aluminum that was collecting in the brain in that plaque, the aluminum is conductive, and so it draws the energy. So as the energy is trying to fire through the neural pathways, it gets yanked out in because it's drawing like a circuit to the aluminum, and that's what causes the problem with the brain. It causes mini strokes and electrical storms in the brain. Plastic's not going to do that. And so your nervous system is going, because it's not going to get inside your nervous system, and it's not going to get blocking the nervous system because it can't make that break in there. So even if it clogs up in the brain, the nervous system is still going to work. So you're not going to lose your memory. But what is it going to change in your brain if enough of it gets caught in your brain and is in there? Is that going to change the composition of the brain somewhat, or give people migraines? We don't know yet. The scientists don't know yet. Okay. So, right. Yeah. So then Penny said, I was just writing, we are the flea on Gaia's back, laugh out loud. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth. And so Gaia is acting accordingly, not understanding why it is that we don't fit anymore, because we're supposed to be gone. Gaia's not self-aware enough to know. So some of us are having to heal Gaia and calm her down and let her know it's okay that we're still here, and give her that love and that energy so that we can then keep her from trying to murder us all to get us off her back. Okay, so let's continue or start with the Law of One, session 76. I think I said it was, 76. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. You guys let me know if you can hear it. Okay, and we'll do a sound check and get started.
February 3rd, 1982. 76.0 Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. 76.1 Questioner. Could you first please give me an indication of the condition of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument is in a state of physical complex bankruptcy which has existed for some of the measure you call time. The vital energies are normal with a strong spiritual complex counterpart and will lending substance to...
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you for that. Did I say hi to you when you came in? I don't even know if I said hi to you. I'm saying hi to everybody else, and I don't know if I said hi to you. Hi, Brooke. Welcome. I apologize if I didn't say hi. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's continue.
The mind/body/spirit complex energy levels. 76.2 Questioner. Will our continued communication with Ra be deleterious to the physical energies of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. We may answer in two modes. Firstly, if the instrument were thusly dedicated to this use with no transfer of energy of physical complex nature, it would begin to call upon the vital energy itself, and this, done in any substantive measure, is actively deleterious to a mind/body/spirit complex if that complex wishes further experience in the illusion which it now distorts. Secondly, if care is taken, firstly, to monitor the outer parameters of the instrument, then to transfer physical energy by sexual transfer, by magical protection, and, lastly, by the energetic displacements of thought forms energizing the instrument during contact, there is no difficulty in that there is no worsening of the instrument's mind/body/spirit complex distortions of strength/weakness. It is to be noted that the instrument, by dedicating itself to this service, attracts greetings of which you are aware. These are inconvenient but, with care taken, need not be lastingly deleterious either to the instrument or the contact. 76.3 Questioner. Of the three things you mentioned that we could do for the instrument's benefit, would you clarify the last one? I didn't quite understand that. Ra. I am Ra. As the entity which you are allows its being to empathize with another being, so then it may choose to share with the other self those energies which may be salubrious to the other self.
Welcome, Peter. How you doing, brother? All right, let's continue. Fiona, did I say hi to you when you came in? Hi. If I didn't, I apologize. Sometimes I'm not paying attention. I look up and see somebody and realize they've been talking for a minute, and I'm like, did I say hello to them? All right, let's continue.
The mechanism of these energy transfers is the thought, or, more precisely, the thought form. For any thought is a form or symbol or thing that is an object seen in time/space reference. 76.4 Questioner. Has our use of the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram been of any value, and what is its effect? Ra. I am Ra.
What he refers to as the lesser pentagram is the pentacle, but I don't think Don understood the word for that back then. So he calls it the lesser pentagram because the pentagram is upside down. from the pentacle, right? The pentagram is what the Satanists use, and they put the goat head in it. So the 5-point star, and the star is facing down for the goat's beard, and the ears fit in the star here, and the horns fit in the star there, and that's called the pentagram. The one that's upright the other way with the 5-pointed star with the point facing up is not called the lesser pentagram. It's not called a pentagram. It's called a pentacle, right? That's what that is, and that's the original name for it. And pentagram means pentacle means actually lesser. It means upside down, right? So he's referring to the lesser pentagram as he's meaning the pentacle when he's saying that right now, just so you know. So they weren't conducting some satanic ritual. They were actually conducting a banishing ritual and a cleansing ritual. All right, let's continue. Woo Riders, welcome.
The group's use of the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram has been increasingly efficacious. Its effect is purification, cleansing, and protection of the place of working. The efficacy of this ritual is only beginning to be, shall we say, at the lower limits of the truly magical. In doing the working, those aspiring to adepthood have done the equivalent of beginning the schoolwork, many grades ahead. For the intelligent student, this is not to be discouraged, rather to be encouraged is the homework, the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, as you might metaphorically call the elementary steps towards the study of being. It is the being that informs the working, not the working that informs the being. Therefore, we may leave you to the work you have begun. 76.5 Questioner, would it be beneficial for us to perform the banishing ritual more in this room? Ra, I am Ra. It is beneficial to regularly work in this place. 76.6 Sorry we have had such a long delay between the last session and this one. It couldn't be helped, I guess. Could you please tell me the origin of the tarot? Ra, I am Ra. The origin of this system of study and divination is twofold. Firstly, there is that influence which, coming in a distorted fashion from those who were priests attempting to teach the law of one in Egypt, gave form to the understanding, if you will pardon the misnomer.
Somebody should tag Reese. Where's Reese? Get him in here. We were just talking about that on Wednesday, and then right after that, Reese found those pictures and put them in the Law of One chat of the Egyptian tarot cards. We're beginning to talk about it. I said on Wednesday when he and I were talking about it, because he and I have been hunting, Reese and I, since 2017, maybe 2018. By the time we got to this part of the Law of One, Reese and I were searching the globe for this particular deck, and he got one and had it, and then went to look for it as we were getting closer again this time. And he said Wednesday that he can't find it. He doesn't know where it is. It just disappeared. And he and I were trying to remember what it looked like. And then sometime after Wednesday, I think it was the same day. It might have been Thursday, but I think it was Wednesday after we did because we do a Q&A that is on Zoom that's not live or recorded, where we can all sit around and people can ask me questions, and then other people like Cassie pops in, and sometimes Jacqueline pops in, and Peter if he's not busy. But I don't think we've had Peter in there yet to answer questions from anybody around the world that wants to come into the Zoom and ask questions where they can actually physically be in the room and talk, and then listen and see other people interacting with us and ask questions. And he and I were talking about that, and he found pictures again of it. And I told him we're about to get into that in the next session and going forward, where they're going to talk more about that original tarot deck that came out of Egypt. And here we are talking about it. So I just wanted to, thank you, Penny, for tagging him. I don't know where he is. I haven't talked to him today. But wherever he is, it's Saturday for him over there in Australia. And I didn't check the chat of the Law of One to see if he's been up or talking yet. I've been too busy to do that. I barely looked in there once or twice, especially right at the end, just before I was going live here, because I was working behind the scenes and then preparing for the show today. Okay, so hopefully he's awake and hopefully he comes in. If not, we'll have to tell him about it later. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to, Peter, tag you or let you know, because it's 3 p.m. my time. So what is that? That's almost midnight your time, right? Because you're 8 hours ahead. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. So what is that? 10 or 11 your time? 3 p.m. West Coast America, GMT minus, I think we're -8 currently, and you're +1. So it might be 9 hours ahead because we did that stupid time change and we haven't sprung forward yet. I'm normally GMT -7, but they did that fall back. So I may be GMT -8, which would put you as 9 hours ahead of me. So 3 p.m. West Coast America time, Pete, on Wednesday, our Wednesday, we do the Zoom call. I'll tag you next week in there in case that way you have time and you want to come in and hang out with us. Okay, there's Reese. Reese, we're about ready to start talking about the tarot cards. He just brought it up, brother. Remember I said that on Wednesday we were talking about it. We're going to start talking about it, and he's just now, Dawn is asking Ra about the Egyptian tarot deck. So I was like, where's Reese? Get him in here. He and I have been hunting for this deck since 2017. And he just found pictures of it. I was just telling everybody that you found pictures of it and posted it in the Law of One chat. So we'll have to see if we can find one on sale somewhere online. And if you find a place, just like I said last time, if you find a place, let me know where it is, and I'm going to try and get that deck sent to me as well. All right, let's continue here.
Which they had received. These forms were then made a regular portion of the learn/teachings of an initiate. The second influence is that of those entities in the lands you call Ur, Chaldea, and Mesopotamia who, from old, had received the, shall we say, data for which they called having to do with the heavens. Thusly we find two methods of divination being melded into one with uneven results, the, as you call it, astrology, and the form being combined to suggest what you might call the correspondences which are typical of the distortions you may see as attempts to view archetype.
Yes, that'd be midnight your time, Peter. Yeah, because you're right. It's because it's Greenwich team. I think it's GMT -9 now, so that would put it at 11 p.m. GMT, and you're +1, right? Because you're on UK time, same time zone. So it would be midnight for you. We start then. So if you're up at that point, usually you're a night person, so you're usually up on a Wednesday. If you want, you can pop in. We're just sitting there talking and answering questions. So, and I know you would probably benefit from giving your opinion on some of the questions that people have, or they would benefit from you. Is my point? You know what I mean? But no pressure. No one's required. Anyway, let's continue.
76.7 Questioner. Then am I correct in assuming that the priests in Egypt, in attempting to convert knowledge that they had received initially from Ra into understandable symbology, constructed and initiated the concept of the tarot? Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct with the addition of the Sumerian influence. 76.8 Questioner. Were Ra's teachings focusing on the archetype?
Right, Brooke, he did come in before, right? Pete did pop in there a couple of weeks ago, like 2-3 weeks ago. Peter did come in before, so you're right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Types for this logos and the methods of achieving a very close approach to the archetypical configuration? Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct without being true.
Fiona, are you talking about this show? This show usually goes, if you're talking about now, I usually do like 2 or 3 hours, just depends on if I can handle the 3 hours, I will. If my mother can handle 3 hours, I'll do 3 hours on Friday. The Zoom call, whenever we get done, same thing, because I start at 3 p.m. I usually have to get off to go and get my mom a shower and get dinner. So, but the last couple of weeks, I've been leaving the room open and letting everybody just talk amongst themselves. So if Cassie's there or somebody else is there that can answer questions, because everybody's helping everybody anyway. Because like when Rick is in there, when Cassie's in there, even when Brooke's in there, and Ray if she pops in, Peter if he pops in, and everybody's asking questions of each other and learn teaching. That goes for about the same, about 3 hours usually, or until everybody gets done. On this Wednesday, we got done on that. I think we stayed on that for quite a while. Past that, I ate dinner. I came back and sat down while my mother was eating in the other room, and I turned my camera off, and I was eating dinner while everybody was still talking. So it's just determined by the people. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Chandra said, I love those Zoom calls. That's why I started doing them, because you guys can interact with one another and with me, and you can ask questions and we can answer specific questions. And it's not just something that's live to the world. So in case there's questions that people want to ask, they can, that they don't want to ask for the whole world to see or hear, they can ask them in there. That's why we're doing that, to give you guys that safe space to be able to ask questions that you may not be willing to ask in here. And no matter where you are on the planet, if you can, you don't even have to be able to download Zoom, because some people, when they go there, wants them to download it on their phone. But if you don't have to go, you don't have to do it that way. You can actually go to zoom.com and hit the button that says join a meeting. And I usually in the chat, in the Law of One chat, I link it there, and it actually has the meeting number and password there. So you can literally, have that chat open and then open zoom.com on Google or whatever you use as a search engine, and then click join a meeting and type in those numbers instead of having to download Zoom to your phone. You can just do it online, and then they'll give you a little thing saying, do you want to join the meeting with your audio and video from your device? And you hit yes, and then it just automatically hooks up to your audio and video, so you don't have to download it and set it up and get an account and all that crap to get in. You just go on to zoom.com and there's a little icon that comes up on your phone somewhere that says, you click on it, it says join meeting, and you go click, and then it'll say, what's the meeting number? And you just go to the Law of One chat, type in that number into there, and then it says, what's the password? All of that information is linked to you, or message me on Messenger, and I can give you the same invite, and then you can have all that information to punch in there. You don't have to download the app. I don't. I'm on my computer. I go to zoom.com, and I don't download their app on my laptop or on my phone. I just go to zoom.com, and then I go click join a meeting, and then I hit click start a meeting, and then I go click start a meeting with video, and then I start the meeting, and then I send out that for everybody. The Law of One, if you're asking, Corey, you said, is the Law of One similar to the Book of the Law? If you're talking about the Book of the Law of One, then yes. But the Book of the Law, unless that's the Book of the Way, like the Tao Te Chi, I don't know that I've read the Book of the Law. But if it is like Hermes or Thoth or any of that, it is identical. But the Law of One is being told from the perspective of Ra, hive mind complex, that is telling you what's going on here on the planet. Like my book that I wrote, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. It's telling you about what's going on here and why people are tired because this place is stuck and nobody's graduating, and why people are stuck and why they're not graduating, as opposed to like the law of attraction or that kind of stuff. But that is involved in the Law of One and understanding or understanding, more importantly. That's a really good question, Cor, by the way. But I don't know if that book, I would have to look at the book specifically, the Book of the Law, and find out, because I've not heard of a book called the Book of the Law, unless you're in reference to, like I said, Taoism, Buddhism, or the law of attraction or that kind of stuff. But the Law of One is similar in that it is about there's the one true creator of the universe, and the laws that were set down that rule the universe itself, and specifically third dimensional life, because that's where people are living here that we're dealing with this. So in that respect, it is actually the same thing, but it depends on the Book of the Law if they're talking about all physical plane or both physical and spiritual, because the Law of One is mostly about the spiritual plane, but all the laws of the universe apply to the physical plane, right? But it does apply to oversee. It's all the laws behind everything that is the mandate from the Creator that governs all of the laws that people talk about in all the religions. Okay, I hope that helps. If you have any more questions for me to clarify that, Cor, please go ahead and type it in. And I would love I'm going to look up what the Book of the Law is, because I don't know that I've read that. And if I haven't, I will read that just to find out exactly what that entails. So that's why I was kind of assuming when I was asking what it was about. So if you could clarify in a little bit, let me know. Aleister Crowley's book. Okay, so Aleister Crowley's book, he said that he was channeling Horus. Okay, so then, yeah, because if he's channeling Horus, you're talking about the book of Thoth, Aleister Crowley. So, yes. The Thoth's Emerald Tablets, the Book of Thoth that Hermes had, that they found at the base of the statue of Hermes, and that's why they equate Hermes Trismegistus with Thoth the Atlantean. I'm writing about the thought about the Emerald Tablets in the book that I'm currently writing, because if you read the first 7 books of the yes, okay. So to answer your question, the book of the law that is what is it? The book 2, isn't that what it is? I'm not sure exactly which book it is, but it is from Thoth. So the first 7 books, if you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the first 7 books of the Emerald Tablets are about balancing your chakras and ascending to rend the veil of night, to quote Thoth, to rend the veil of night, to peel back the veil of night. So the first 7 books are literally about that. The Starborn and all of that is explaining the laws which you're referring to. So to answer your question, yes, because it is that book is also overseeing things the exact same way, showing you like the way to where the creator is through the center. That's the 0 point. That's your heart chakra, or the center of the earth, which is the 0 point in the heart chakra of the planet, right? Do you see? Or of the energy of you and the planet. So that's what Thoth was referring to in there. So I'm showing the correlation between these different religions and the laws of the universe and how they break down. Another good book, which I can't show you because my computer is sitting on it, is God-Man, the Bible Made Flesh. That came out in the 1940s, I think, early 1940s, or the turn of the century, and then reprinted in the 1940s. You should look at that book because it explains a lot. I didn't read that until after I wrote the Returning to the Old Ways, the reality about reality. And literally I talk about the Christ oil and the Christ within in there, and they do as well. And I wish I had read that ahead of time, because I would have literally given the reference so people knew that I gave a reference to a video and a conference, but I didn't have that book. I would have loved to have been able to go, and you could read exactly this in this book. So I tell people about that now. So, well, see, that's what people believe, right? Course says, isn't Hermes Trismegistus the 3rd lineage of Thoth? So yes, that's what people believe. I think it was the same soul. I do believe that. I believe that he was reincarnated as Hermes, and so he would have been, because Thoth existed at least 77,000 years ago, if not all the way back as far as 120,000 years ago. If you listen to Robert Schoch, when in the Giza Plateau, when the Sphinx was built, it was at least 126,000 years ago. So the Atlanteans would have been around at that time. So now we're talking about Hermes, which was 6,000 years ago, and that would have been the 3rd incarnation. So I think you're accurate, to be honest with you. I think that that the Egyptians kind of knew that his soul was Thoth. I don't know if Hermes ever claimed that he was the Thoth reincarnated. I don't know the answer to that, but I believe he was. So yes. Yeah. Yes, right. Yeah. Carr said, I agree. All trinities are man-made. Yes, right. I don't know. You were talking with somebody else saying that in the chat, but yes, right. So yeah, that's what lineage means. Yeah, incarnations. Yeah. No. So, but I believe that he was. I believe he was third generation, or 3rd lineage, third reincarnation, and that's why they called him Hermes Trismegistus, 3 times great, because he was the 3rd incarnation on Earth of Thoth. Yes. So, yeah, that's what that means. Trismegistus means 3 times great. So literally that's the Trinity again, but he was the 3rd incarnation of Thoth in human form, right? The first being that's why the Hebrews try to not do that with Jesus and claim that, but I believe that Jesus, a person who was Jesus, I believe that person, that soul in that body, came here 11 other times in history, and people have tracked that, and some say more than that. I proved 7 about 10 years ago, but I've heard, and I've had people all show that it goes back at least to 12, so 11 plus the Christ character, 12. And I was just watching a video about a month ago of a guy from the 1980s who claimed that he had done it 33 times. And there's that number again with your 33 vertebrae, 33rd degree Freemason, 33 years when Jesus was crucified and all of that. That has to do with the Christ oil. So there's the incarnations and stuff again, right? I don't think I understand the story of finding the book. Okay. So the book of Thoth the Atlantean, the Emerald Tablets, the actual Emerald Tablets. Have you ever seen them? They're literally made of emerald. And I've shown pictures of them. I don't have them, but I've gotten them from pictures that are online from the museum. So after Hermes was dead, when he died, they buried him, and then they put a statue of him the way that they did in Egypt, where they would put your tomb below the statue. And what people don't know, because it was later in life, they were excavating, and at the feet, in between the feet of the statue of Hermes, above his sarcophagus in the dirt, was the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. That's how we know that they exist, because that's the only copy that we have ever found. So that's how we have that information. So people think that the Hermetic texts were written by Anton LaVey or Leary, but they weren't. But if you go online to YouTube, you have to be careful, because if you look up the Hermetic text, you have to look at the Hermetica. If you look up the Hermetica or the Hermeticus, the Hermetica, that's that's the Greek version of it. But if you look up the Hermes or Hermetic text, then that's the one that was translated by H.P. Lovecraft and those guys that they created that. But if you find the ones that is not the Hermetic text, but the Hermetica or the Hermeticus, that came out of Greece 6,000 years ago. And they said that they got it from the Egyptians, and the Egyptians have the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, but it's not Thoth the Atlantean, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. But Thoth the Atlantean is very similar to that. I've read them both. They're almost identical, but there are some things that were added at the end that you can tell that it's Lovecraft that did that. So again, you have to find the correct verbiage. Hermetica, Hermeticus, not Hermetic texts, not Hermes text, and then not the Thoth the Atlantean, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And when you look at those, and then check if you watch a video, check who is editing it and who is speaking the words, because the Egyptians in modern time have this profound, annoying thing that they do, where they change the words to the Egyptian gods. When Thoth says God, they translate it to Anubis. He never said Anubis. He never said any of the gods that are in that religion. He said God every time. And it drives them crazy, because the Hebrews say God, the Christians say God, and they claim that's a Christianized version when it's the actual version of it. And then they translate it because they want it to be Egyptian in origin, and it's not. It's Atlantean in origin. And why would an Atlantean god be talking about Egyptian gods who came after him? I'm a theologian. So for me, I'm a Puritan when it comes to theology, and it bothers me when people wrongfully translate something or take liberties because they have an agenda, right? So you have to be careful of that if you listen to audio. Otherwise, if you get a transcript or a book that somebody has, and then check their origin before you buy the book, and make sure that it doesn't have liberties, because they have to disclaim it. If they change anything, they have to tell you somewhere either in the beginning of the book or in the postscript of the book. They have to tell you that they made edits to fit a narrative. So look for that before you buy books, and look for that before you listen to audio or watch videos. Because if you don't know it and they're changing it and they don't give you a disclaimer telling you that they have, that's how problems arise, and people start calling an entire species Anunnaki. when that word doesn't exist in that form. It never has. And people are like, no, scholars prove that. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. I've looked into it. And every time someone says that, I ask them for their scholars, and I look it up, and they didn't. There is no species called Anunnaki. That word was Anunnaki, 2 words. Okay. And it meant Anunnah means sub-god, not God. It means prince. Okay. It doesn't mean God. It doesn't mean a species either. But it's okay that people call that group of people the Anunnaki, because they at least know them as evil, right? But they weren't even calling themselves that when they were here. They called themselves the Orion Crusaders. They don't call themselves that now. They call themselves something different. Okay. So the people, the reason that I say who thinks that, a lot of people do, Core, a lot of people think that. All the ancient aliens people believe that the word Anunnaki, because Zachariah Sitchin in 1948 was trying to translate. He was teaching himself Mesopotamian, and he saw the word Anu, and he borrowed that from the god of the Greeks, the Arcadian country of Arcadia, which had a 3,000 mile or 2,000 mile border with Mesopotamia at the time. They were Greeks. They had a god called Anu. So he saw the word Anu and then saw the word ki, and he got the word ki, realizing it meant comes. And he skipped over the word na completely, like it wasn't there, and said the god Anu came. So the god Anu came to Earth and taught everybody all the stuff that we have, how to cultivate, how to build cities, and all of that. Then Georgios Tsoukalos from Prometheus, doing the History Channel's Ancient Aliens Worldwide, got a hold of that, and in one of the episodes in 2012, he translated, just because they were selling tickets and stuff, he said, those from the heavens came. And now all of the ancient aliens people have run with that since 2012 in the last 13 years, and it has now become a species. Anunnaki means an entire species. When even Tsoukalos meant one person, one god, not a species, he was saying the god Anu. But now they're like Anunnaki, those people, and that's what it's evolved into. It's okay. It's a catch-all phrase, that means the same, but there are people who are starting to believe that there are people, and they're buying into the narrative of trying to worship them as our gods, creator gods. And I've seen videos to where they're saying basically every religion on the face of the earth was created by those people that don't even exist. Jamie, welcome. So that's annoying, right? So, right, awesome, super fun. Thank you for your insights. That's very interesting stuff. Thank you, Core. So any other questions, please let me know, and I will at any time pause to answer. This is what I'm here to do, and this is why it's taken me so long. We're on class 130 weeks now teaching this, because I'm using the law of one to spawn questions so that you guys can then ask me questions, and then I can help you by answering that. And then if you have more questions that can't be answered because of the time constraints here, we can put you into the law of one chat, class chat on Messenger, and then you can ask questions there, or you can message me or any of the other people, like people in the audience here, like Cassie and Peter, and who else is here? Brooke, who else is here? So almost everybody in here can answer some questions because they've been studying spirituality and the ascension for years now, and we have an entire group, a coalition of people that we're called the Orion Coalition of Light, that is part of the Orion Council of Light, that is what Ra, from the law of one, is a part of that council. Warning, but Ra came through Carla Rutger in between 1981 and 1984, 1982 and 1984. Channeled that information and hasn't channeled it since. Okay, let's continue with the law of one. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to look and see if I missed anything. Please ask them. Let's continue.
We of RA are humble messengers of the law of one. We seek to teach/learn this single law. During the space/time of the Egyptian teach/learning, we worked to bring the mind complex, the body complex, and the spirit complex into an initiated state in which the entity could contact intelligent energy.
Let's see. Core did ask another book. He said, do you have, let me put this up on the screen. Do you have the proof in the book? I would love to see the proof of incarnations. Are you talking about for Thoth? And there is no proof that I've seen anywhere other than the Egyptians believe it about Hermes. That's why they called him Hermes Trismegistus, 3 times great. But I have yet to find that myself. All right, Cora, I'll be honest with you. I believe that it was the same soul, not because I can find physical proof on this earth, but because if you go to the Akashic records, the halls of Amente, you'd probably know best if you've read the Emerald Tablets. It's still the same building. It's not really a building, but it's still the same place. If you go there and look into the records there, have your guides and your higher self look at the records there, you can see that. That's just like with the Jesus character. You can see that. But to prove it down here in an empirical way, I haven't found any scrolls that prove it, but the Egyptians talk about it quite a bit. And that's why Hermes is remembered as Hermes Trismegistus, and that they literally believed while he was alive that he was the reincarnation of Thoth. Okay, and that's why at the base of his statue, the Emerald Tablets, a copy of it was buried there, hidden there, and a good thing because people were trying to destroy them from the face of the earth, and they were gone. They thought they had destroyed the Emerald Tablets, and like the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was found during excavation on accident, and that's why we have them now on the earth. But empirical proof, I haven't found any yet myself. Okay, let's continue here. If I can get this to play, apologize.
And so become teach/learner itself that healing and the fruits of study could be offered to all. The study of the roots of mind is a portion of the vivification of the mind complex and, as we have noted, the thorough study of the portion of the roots of mind called archetypical is an interesting and necessary portion of the process as a whole. 76.9 Questioner, is there, in Ra's opinion, present-day value for the reuse of the tarot as an aid in the evolutionary process? Ra, I am Ra. We shall repeat information. It is appropriate to study one form of constructed and organized distortion of the archetypical mind in depth in order to arrive at the position of being able to become and to experience archetypes at will. You have three basic choices. You may choose astrology, the 12 signs, as you call these portions of your planet's energy web, and what has been called the 10 planets. You may choose the tarot with its 22 so-called major arcana. You may choose the study of the so-called Tree of Life with its 10 Sephiroth and the 22 relationships between the stations. It is well to investigate each discipline, not as a dilettante, but as one who seeks the touchstone, one who wishes to feel the pull of the magnet. One of these studies will be more attractive to the seeker. Let the seeker then investigate the archetypical mind using, basically, one of these three disciplines. After a period of study, the discipline mastered sufficiently, the seeker may then complete the more important step, that is, the moving beyond the written in order to express in a unique fashion its understanding, if you may again pardon the noun, of the archetypical mind. 76.10 Questioner, would I be correct in saying that our local logos, in acting as co-creator, distorted to some extent, for the purposes of experience, that which we experience here? And that the archetypes of this particular logos are somewhat unique with respect to the rest of the creation, but are of course related to the all in that they are part of it, but are, I can only say, a unique part, and that the systems of study that we have just talked about would not translate quickly or easily in other parts of the creation. This is a very difficult question to state. Could you clear that up for me? Ra, I am Ra. We may draw from the welter of statement which you offer the question we believe you ask. Please re-question if we have mistaken your query. The archetypical mind is that mind which is peculiar to the logos under which influence you are at this space/time distorting your experiences. There is no other logos the archetypical mind of which would be the same any more than the stars would appear the same from another planet in another galaxy. You may correctly infer that the closer logoi are indeed closer in archetypes. 76.
Right, so that there, Ra is explaining that given minor detail changes per logi, per like planetary body, the governing logos archetypes of each logos is universal. Okay, so you may have a different language, you may have a different food, you may have a different culture on different planets, you may have a different physical body, you may not be bipedal, you could be something else, aquatic, you could be whales, dolphins. On this planet, they're just as smart as humans. In fact, whales have a bigger brain. And we say that the measure of intelligence is the size of your brain, yet we don't acknowledge that dolphins have a brain that's slightly bigger than ours, and whales have a brain that's almost twice the size of ours. So we don't assume that they're more intelligent than us, but they're at the very least they are as intelligent as us and as self-aware. if not more self-aware for the whales, the larger ones. So otherwise, the here you see that Ra is explaining that the archetypes, the chakras, that and the Fibonacci spiral, the golden mean ratio, that entire archetype, or all 7 of those archetypes that we have in this dimension, in third dimension, are universal. Okay, so it's everywhere. It's just a matter of how it organizes itself into a physical manifestation that is different. So trees look different if they even have trees on another planet. The bodies of the people would be different, but they still have the same governing bodies, the same chakra points doing the same thing. Then the harmonic resonance of them and the colors of them are going to be same in the spectrum, except for unless there's a difference because of the sun. We're with a yellow ray sun coming through our atmosphere, and so we have the rainbow colors that are split out from that in that color. They could be slightly different if the sun is say a blue dwarf or a red dwarf, or something like that, or a gas giant, or one of those that are giving the light to the planet. So there could be a different composition, but you're going to have the same chakras doing the same thing, but they could appear physically in the spectrum of light to be slightly different coloration, but they will be representing the exact same thing that our chakras represent here in this on this planet, because that is universal throughout the governing bodies of the universe itself. Okay, let's continue here.
0.11 Questioner. Then, since RA evolved initially on Venus, RA is of the same archetypical origin as that which we experience here. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. 76.12 Questioner. But I am assuming.
So hold on, I'm pausing because Cassie said it was hard to catch those 3 ways. I'm tired writing them down. Can we discuss more about the ways in the chat or Wednesday, astrological tree of life? At least I'm trying to figure out what you're referring to there. Cassie, I'm trying to figure out what you're talking like Peter now. You're talking encrypted for me. Right? It was hard to catch those 3 ways. I tried to write them down. Are you saying that there was something up there above, right? Do I need to back up? Is that what's going on? Hold on here. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if you're talking to me and wanting me to yeah. So writing them down, but could you discuss more about the ways in the chat or Wednesday? Oh, yes, we can do that. All right, I see what you're saying. You're not wanting me to talk about it right now. You're wanting me to talk about it later with that. Okay, yes, we can, unless you want me to talk it right now. Yeah, okay, Rod just said 3 ways. All right, so because I was talking, let me rewind it then, and we'll have Ross say it again so I'm exactly understanding the point that you were making or wanting more clarification on. Thank you for doing that. Because of me talking about what I was talking about, I obviously skipped over something. So let me back up here, and we'll let me know if I didn't go back far enough.
Related to the all-in that they are part of it, but are, I can only say, a unique part, and that the systems of study that we have just talked about would not translate quickly or easily in other parts of the creation. This is a very difficult question to state. Could you clear that up for me? Ra. I am Ra. We may draw from the welter of statement which you offer the question we believe you ask. Please re-question if we have mistaken your query. The archetypical mind is that mind which is peculiar to the logos under which influence you are at this space/time distorting your experiences. There is no other logos the archetypical mind of which would be the same any more than the stars would appear the same from another planet in another galaxy. You may correctly infer that the closer logoi are indeed closer in archetypes. 76.11 Questioner. Then, since RA evolved initially on Venus, RA is of the same archetypical origin as that which we experience here.
Yes. So yes. So yeah, it is the systems of study go in line with energy, frequency, and vibration, right? So the archetypes, all the archetypes are 7 archetypes, but you have the main 3 archetypes that's actually really intense question. 3, 6, and 9, energy, frequency, and vibration. Chakra 1, chakra 6, chakra, or chakra 1. I'm saying 6 because I'm going 3, 4, 5, 6. So chakra 1, chakra 4, chakra 7, which is actually 3, 6, 9, because that's the names of the chakras. That's actually where they rest. So the archetypes are physical. So you're talking the beast, physicality, love, and then spirituality. Okay, so you're talking physical, harmonic, and then spiritual, energy, frequency, vibration. Okay, so energy, place, physicality, frequency, love, vibration, and then spiritual, which is the more of the energy, frequency, more of a vibration because it's no longer physical. Okay, so the archetypes are the 3 schools, and so one of the archetypes would be physicality, all that is physical that runs the 3 lower chakras, or love, nurturing, caring, and heart. And Ra refers to them as the sisters of sorrow, and Ra being talking about the being laws of one. That is the crown chakra. Okay, so you have the physical plane and the laws of physicality, empirical. Okay, this place. Then you have, and that goes along with you've heard the different, or you might not have, the different laws of that rule the universe in the physical, and they have all of those archetypes that they tell you about, which are, I think, the 10 laws, and even Hermes talked about it, and everybody talks about it in science. Then you have the heart, and that would be what Ra talks about as the sisters of sorrow, and that's love, anguish, nurturing, caring, of others and of self. And then you have the archetype of the crown chakra, which is all the spiritual, infinite wisdom, infinite love, infinity itself, co-creation, all of that stuff from that perspective. Those are literally the 3 major archetypes, major arcana. You hear that reference in tarot, major arcana, minor arcana. The major arcana are those same 3 archetypes, and the minor arcana are all the ones in between, right? So that's actually a really good question, and I wasn't sure what you meant until then. But yes, that is so it's literally, right. Joanne said astrology, tree of life, and tarot. Right, there you go. There's energy, frequency, vibration. Right, so same thing. So it's systems of study, and that is you're either in living in the flesh, or living in the heart, or living in the spiritual. Those 3, 3, 6, 9 in science. And that's the ruling factors of the universe itself, and they govern all of the other bodies. The minor arcana, and that's what if you read the tarot cards, you have that major arcana, minor arcana in the tarot. Okay, so that's actually a really good question, Cassie, that you were asking for specificity from or about. So if there's anything else before I move on, let me know, because that was a really good question. That was so it is in many different ways. Facets, like I said, energy, frequency, vibration, and it is the lower plane, this plane, physicality. That's the energy, frequency, heart, love, that sort of stuff, and then a spiritual wisdom, expansion. So that's the vibration, because you're moving into light as opposed to physicality as a spirit. Right, Reese says, good one, Reese. Reese says, interesting. I saw the tree of life meditating last night. Then it comes up today. Let's see. That's the apropos or serendipitousness of the law of one, that it plays in and pertains to, weirdly, what we're going through in a cycle at the same time. And then I do a Friday and find out that everybody's been talking about this subject that we're on the very next lesson of. And it's weird that it happens that way, but it does happen that way. If you're in tune with nature, for some reason, the law of one is just like the Bible. If you take the Bible and you just open it up somewhere, ask a question and open it up and point at a passage and read it, you're going to get an answer. Weirdly, you're going to get an answer to what you were thinking. The law of one does the same thing, and it's bizarre. And people are like, oh, you can read into anything that you want. I'm like, specifically, something like that just happened. Right? Yeah, right. Well, that's more than just the archetype, because you're right. So you're welcome, and Joanne, thank you for assisting me with that, helping with another way of saying that to Cassie. with that parable, so she understood it a little bit better. So yeah, the major arcana, the major archetypes are 3, 6, and 9, and that would be 1, 4, and 7. But the actual name of the chakras aren't numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a corruption. They're actually numbered 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if you do that, then that shows that the 3 being nature is the 3 number, and then the heart becomes the 6, and the spiritual becomes the 9. And that's important for the charm of making. That's important for all other aspects of this reality, even in mathematics and science. That 9 is the Higgs boson. That is the God particle, and God in the Bible said, "I am everything and nothing. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." So that's literally 9 is literally everything, 9, and 0, nothing. So, and 9 is the controlling factor that closes the circuit, that makes the figure 8, that makes the infinity of the energy, frequency, and vibration staying internalized in that torus, instead of expanding out to the universe and completely expanding forever and ever and ever. Then we know that the universe itself is in a closed circuit. It's expanding right now, and it seems like it's going to go on forever, but it's slowing down. And science has realized that eventually this universe, which exploded, boom, is going to stop and come back and implode. Blam. Okay. So, but it's going to be so long before it does that, trillion years or so, before it does that none of us will be alive in a physical plane. We'll be in the spiritual and probably make it back to source before this universe collapses on itself, and then it'll just explode. If it does it, by the way, science proves it will implode. It'll come to here, and then it will actually implode into a different universe and expand there, and it won't be in this plane. It'll become a black hole, and it'll implode into itself and expand in a different reality, and then it'll do the same thing, come out and come back in, and then it'll explode back out into either this reality or one next to it. And it just keeps going like that. And I've seen simulations on that, and I've actually seen that happen in meditation. And the first time I saw it, I didn't understand what I was seeing. And then I realized that I was seeing a very fast speed up of galaxies, universes collapsing and exploding in a big bang, inward and outward in a big bang, moving through itself and becoming and transforming over and over. And then when I try to explain that in an empirical way here, it scares people. So I don't usually talk about that. The tree of life is heart. Yes. The tree of light was your endocrine system. Actually, it's your nervous system in your physical body. So it starts at the brain, and your entire electrical system that goes down your spine and goes out to your body is your tree of life. And the trunk is this physical body. The trunk of the tree of life, your trunk is this organ that is on the outside, and the electrical system's on the inside, and that is the tree branches and the roots and the tree. Your brain is the blossom of the tree where all the leaves are on. That's what your brain is. It comes up your spine, goes to your brain, and fans out in the exact same way that a tree fans out and the tree branches are your nervous system inside your body. So it's actually the same. I made a reel about that, Reese, in a few years ago. I could link it in the Law of One after the show, that where I literally title it "Life is Life," and I show you all the different trees of life that were drawn by the Vikings, the Egyptians, the Hebrews, the Celts, and all of those. And then I show you the human body and the endocrine system, the electrical system, and all the worlds. Like they have 10 trees on or branches on the Hebrew and the Egyptian and the a tree of life. And then if you look at Vikings, there are actually 10 worlds. There's 7 worlds plus a couple that are not really apparent that make up that same 10. And when you look at the human body, you have 10 organs that your endocrine system rules. You have the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the tongue, the throat. You have the heart. You have the lungs. You have the liver. You have the testicles, or for the sexual organ, the female and the male genitalia. And if you count all of those, including your skin on the outside, the epidermis being an organ itself, you will have the 10 worlds of the Vikings, the 10 worlds of the Egyptian tree of life. It's literally the building blocks of the universe. And I showed that in a reel that's like 30 seconds or 45 seconds long. That I'll download it and put it in the Law of One chat for those of you that want to see it again. I made it a year or two ago. Anyway, so it shows that, and that was the correlation that I was showing, that the tree of life that they show as a tree is your electrical system on the inside, and then the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life, or the Kumbala, you know what I'm talking about, and the tree of life they're all the same, and they all have the exact same number on them, and they all represent the same archetypes. And that's why if you look at the Viking pantheon with Jotunheim and the different places, if you look at the archetypes of what the frost giants represent and the dwarfs represent and the earth represents, and you realign them with either the chakras or the physicality of the universe the same way, and the archetypes, and I'm talking about that in my book. I talk about that in the reality about reality and returning to the old ways. And then the next book that I'm writing now, I get into a little bit more details to explain that a little bit more. But it's been written about in all of the religions around the world, or the spiritual practices. Cherry, welcome. When you open the six chakras, you then combine them and it opens the heart. Well, and then the other way around too. Yes, when you realign your chakras, then when they crystallize, then because your soul, that's actually really good statements you made, because everyone thinks because your brain is here and you see through these eyes that this is where your soul resides. Your soul is actually in your heart. So you have to align the bottom three and the upper three chakras. And when you align those properly and balance them properly and they start to crystalline, they then align the heart chakra, and the heart chakra crystallizes all of them. And that illuminates the third eye chakra or the crown chakra and expands your consciousness out above and away from this physical plane. And that's actually real 4D and 5D expansion of your mind. But everything has to be aligned and crystallizing, and then the heart chakra has to open up, and that's that blooming of the heart chakra. Then when that happens, that solidifies everything, literally starts crystallizing, and then activates your third eye even more, the optic thalamus, and then really illuminates everything. And that's when you really start becoming unveiled, massively unveiled. And that's a wonderful thing when it does happen. Wonderful thing. Welcome, by the way. Jerry, welcome. All right, let's continue. Any more questions, throw them at me. Otherwise, we'll just continue.
Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. 76.12 Questioner, but I am assuming that the concepts of the tarot and the magical concepts tree of life, etc., were not in use by RA. I suspect, possibly, some form of astrology was a previous RA concept. This is just a guess. Am I correct? Ra, I am Ra. To express Ra's methods of study of the archetypical mind under the system of distortions which we enjoyed would be to skew your own judgment of that which is appropriate for the system of distortions forming the conditions in which you learn/teach. Therefore, we must invoke the law of confusion. 76.13 Questioner, I'm going to ask some questions now that may be a little off center of what we are trying to do. I'm not sure because I'm trying to, with these questions, unscramble something that I consider to be very basic to what we are doing. Please forgive my lack of ability in questioning since this is a difficult concept for me. Could you give me an idea of the length of the first and second density that occurred for this planet?
Okay, so before we get to the answer there, I wanted to point out, because I kind of skipped over it, that when Dawn was asking that question, Ra said that would be an infringement on one of the laws of one. So I'll have to invoke the law of chaos. So because of that, because of the veiling, Ra could not talk about what that was that Dawn was asking right there, because of the law of chaos, that people have to make their own determination on that particular subject, going further about those archetypes that he was asking about. Okay, let's continue.
Ra, I am Ra. There is no method of estimation of the time/space before timelessness gave way, in your first density, to the beginnings of your time. The measurement would be vast, and yet this vastness is meaningless. Upon the entry into the constructed space/time, Your first density spanned a bridge of space/time and time/space of perhaps 2 billion of your years.
Right? So people don't realize that. Now, that's from our perspective. So on this Earth, before the two-dimensional life forms were invented, until there was a transformation and an upgrade to that, one-dimensional life forms were on this planet for, what did he say, about 2 billion years. However, Ra made the statement. They made the statement that it was the time was nothing, because when you're outside of time, it's literally a blink of an eye. It's just now, because there's only a separation of time in third dimensional existence, or first, second, and third dimensional existence, but you don't perceive it until you're self-aware, and that's when you're a third dimensional being. And then when you go to the fourth dimension and into the fifth dimension, time starts to fall away and everything gets compressed. And time is just the distance that it takes to go from one place to another physically, because you stop doing that and you start traveling astrally and you start moving around as energy. So your physical body wanes and disappears. By the time you're in the going into the sixth dimension, your energy, you're not even in a physical form anymore. Definitely not when you're in the sixth. Right. And then there's a different transmutation that happens when you go from the seventh density until the eighth density. And I can't even explain to you here, because that's forbidden. I can see it, but I can't explain it to you, because it won't translate into words here, and they won't let me translate it into words here, because we're not supposed to talk about it down here, because that's the next level up of the octave. So 1 through 7 is in 7 chakras, weirdly, right? 1 through 7 is the lower arcana, and then there's 7 through 12 or 7 through 13 that is the upper arcana, and no one there gives any information about up there down here, because down here, especially at this level where evil people would be able to get that information, because they can't, because they don't exist up there. Okay, let's continue.
Second density is more easily estimated and represents your longest density in terms of the span of space/time. We may estimate that time is approximately 4.6 billion years. These approximations are exceedingly rough due to the somewhat uneven development which is characteristic of creations which are built upon the foundation stone of free will.
Now, this is not to say that these timelines they're talking about is what you as an individual soul would have to go through if you were in the first dimension or in the second dimension as a being in there. That is what it took this planet to support that life, for that life to evolve from first dimension, and then second dimensional life forms evolved from that, and then the second dimensional life forms evolved into third dimensional life forms in the natural progression of Gaia, this planet, Earth, Terra, where it supported that life. So if you came in and you were, say, you came in the beginning and you were a rock or something, you wouldn't have to sit here for 1 billion years, or 4 million years, and then become a bird or something, and then take another 2 or 3 billion years before you become a human. That was the evolution of this ecosystem of the Earth that supported those life forms. And when those life forms evolved into the life forms that are currently here, and the supporting factor of this ecosystem to support life, say, getting to third dimensional life forms being able to be a part of this ecosystem. I hope that makes sense.
76.14 Questioner. Did you state that second density was 4.6 billion? BIL. Is that correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. 76.15 Questioner. Then we have a third density that is, comparatively speaking, the twinkling of an eye, the snap of a finger in time compared to the others. Why does the third density cycle so extremely rapidly compared to first and second? Ra. I am Ra. The third density is a choice. 76.16 Questioner. Third density, then, it appears, is, compared to the rest of the densities, all of them, nothing but a uniquely short period of what we consider to be time, and is then for the purpose of this choice. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is precisely correct. The prelude to choice must encompass the laying of the foundation, the establishment of the illusion and the viability of that which can be made spiritually viable. The remainder of the densities is continuous refining of the choice. This also is greatly lengthened, as you would use the term. The choice is, as you put it, the work of a moment but is the axis upon which the creation turns. 76.17 Questioner, is this third density choice the same throughout all of the creation of which you are aware? Ra, I am Ra. We are aware of creations in which third density is lengthier and more space/time is given to the choosing. However, the proportions remain the same, the dimensions all being somewhat etiolated and weakened by the logos to have a variant experience of the creator.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Cherry said, I watched a video that was trying to say that birthmarks are the mark of how you died in a previous life or lives. No birthmark was interesting, either dead or natural causes or new life starts. Yet some people have memory of things like that have happened where they had a birthmark, like right over their heart or something, and when they did like a life regression, they said that it was there because they were shot through the heart or stabbed through the heart. So there are some people that bring echoes of that in. I don't have any birthmarks that I'm aware of in this life, and there are some people that don't. And not everybody who has a birthmark has a soul memory of dying in a past life that had something to do with that. However, there have been some people who have stated that exact thing. So there is some empirical evidence that would suggest that some people do come through and carry something. It's also a little bit less evident, but a little bit more evident in some respects, where you have people that were, say born, in Europe as a European man or a woman, and they're obsessed with Japanese culture and everything Japanese. And they have all the Japanese, the whole house is Japanese. And when you do a regression on them, they say that in the last life, they were Japanese. So there is a lot of that comes through as well, where people's tendency to, or affinity for a certain culture or a certain food may be an echo of a past life, that they really enjoyed that food or something about that culture, and they bring it into now. And it's not just something they learned. Like me with being a Native American, I was always drawn. I live in North America. I was always drawn to Native Americans and that shamanistic way. And I'm 5% Native. So they tend to say, well, your DNA says that, so therefore you're going to be drawn to it. But I also know that I was Native American in a past life. I lived here in the state of California, not too far from where 60 miles from where I'm currently at. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. And I was a Native American 180 years ago, almost 200 years ago, in that exact place. Okay. So weirdly, the Native American DNA that I currently have right now, 5% of my DNA is the actual DNA and Native American tribe that I occupied a body of 200 years ago. Figure that one out. So I reincarnated as a descendant of my own clan in this life. So in some weird sense, I'm my own great-great-great-grandson. And I'm my own great-great-great-grandfather. Do you understand that? So weirdly, okay? And I found that out through, Ancestry.com, and find out where my DNA was. And I didn't realize that I had Native American DNA. I thought that I did because I have an aunt, a great aunt, my father's aunt. And she was very Native. Her name was Cora, Auntie Cora. She was brown, leathery skin, wrinkly, brown, leathery skin, looked Native American. And my father was very dark. I got the light color from my mother. I'm the recessive. The rest of my family is darker skinned than I am. My brother is a little bit light like I am. And my sisters, I have 4 sisters. The oldest one, Carolyn, is light-skinned, blue eyes. Jennifer is medium-skinned and green eyes. Julie was dark-skinned and brown-eyed. Debbie is dark-skinned and brown-eyed. Then I'm light-skinned with the green eyes, and then my brother is skin that's a little bit darker than me, make 2 shades darker than me with brown. I think he has brown-green eyes, like Hazel as well. I'll have to look at his picture. Maybe he has brown eyes. I'll look at his picture and see. So I'm the one that has the recessive, so I look very European because I got it from my mother's side of the family, and they all look more native than I do. And then if you see the other kids beyond that, because my sister Jennifer married a man who was half Irish, half Cherokee. So she's got one towhead child and one dark-haired child, and both of them look a little bit more native than they do European. So then when I checked my DNA, it turns out I'm 5%, which factored considering my grandmother was half, but she looked European. But she was half native. And so it's weird that I then found out because I knew that I was native. And then when I did the DNA, I was like, holy crap, I'm actually related to myself. The person that I was and the tribe that I was that when I was here in the San Francisco Bay Area is the actual DNA that I have in my body. So somebody from that tribe I'm related to now. And I don't know if it was me directly but it's definitely someone that was in my tribe. I'm part of the same tribe that I was 200 years ago when I was full-blooded Native American. Think about that for a second. That'll blow your mind out and have you freaking out. Jamie, I just told you what my sister's names were. Carolyn is the oldest, Jennifer, then Julie, then Debbie, then myself, then my brother Jeff. He's younger than me. But yeah, right. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So craziness. And then I'm an uncle because they all have kids. All the girls have at least 2 kids. And all of those kids have at least 2 kids. So now I'm an uncle or a great uncle to 36 or 37 children who are in various stages of age from 25 down to like 9 or 10. Well, actually, and some younger than that, because my niece, my sister's daughter, has a 1-year-old named Odin. So I mean, there's another one there that's young, right? They're still breeding, they're still expanding. Okay, let's continue. So if you guys have any Jerry said, I'm the only child. Wow, so many siblings. Yeah, we had a really big family, really big family. So there was all of us kids, and then they all had kids, and they all had kids, and yeah, we had a really big. Our family reunions were huge. We would go. Last one we did was 15 years ago, and we went to Chili's and took over an entire section of Chili's. Because we had that many people that showed up there. We literally took over an entire section of Chili's. And we were just loud, obnoxious. My family holds 4 conversations at once with 4 different people. And so we're literally talking to 4 different people and with 4 complete different conversations that everybody's paying attention to. Yeah, crazy. It was fun. I miss all of them. We're all still friends on Facebook, and we communicate all the time with one another, but we haven't gotten together for a big to-do for a while. All right, let's continue here.
This creation is seen by us to be quite vivid. 76.18 Questioner, I didn't understand what you meant by seen to you as being quite vivid. What do you mean? Ra, I am Ra. This creation is...
Rick, welcome. How long have you been here? I just now noticed that you said something. I apologize if I didn't say hi to you and you've been in the room for an hour and a half. Yikes, brother. Hopefully you just got here and I won't feel so bad because I didn't say hi to you earlier, did I? If you said something earlier and I didn't say hi, I really apologize, bro.
Somewhat more condensed by its logos than some other logo I have chosen. Thus each experience of the creator by the creator in this system of distortions is, relatively speaking, more bright or, as we said, vivid. 76.19 Questioner, I am assuming that on entering into third density, for this planet, disease did not exist in any form. Is this correct? RA, I am RA. This is incorrect. 76.20 Questioner, what was the form of disease, and why did this exist at beginning third density? Ra, I am Ra. Firstly, that which you speak of as disease is a functional portion of the body complex which offers the body complex the opportunity to cease viability.
What, Jamie? I'm sorry, I didn't see this. I just happened to look up and you were talking to me. Just strange. I have a Jennifer, a Julie for a sister. Wow. And a Carol, right? Wow, that is kind of crazy. And and your grandfather was Leonard. That's some weird parallels. We should probably talk about that. Yeah. So literally, Carolyn is the oldest, Jennifer, Julie, Deborah, me, and then my brother Jeffrey. That's crazy right there that you have that many names in your family. Well, they're all family names in my family, right? So yeah, I bet yours are all family names probably, and that's probably why. But that's kind of cool that we have that. That's weird that we have those things in common. They're very similar. You'd be surprised how that often that kind of pops up. European families are kind of like that. Christian families are kind of like that. When I was going to the Roman Catholic Church, because I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church when I was there as a parishioner and a knight, all the women were named Mary. Rosemary, Mary, Marie, they're all named Mary because of Mary Magdalene and Holy Mary. So you have all of those names from the Bible that become Joseph. There was, Joes I knew and Josephs I knew. So those, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, those names are very prevalent in Catholic and Christian families. So everybody has them. And so it's crazy how many women are named Mary when you go to a Catholic church. So that might be part of it because you are European, but you also, I've seen you, and I think you also might have some native DNA because your bone structure says that you might have a little bit of native, but I've never discussed that with you. I don't think I've ever talked about that to you, but I don't look native. My DNA my physical features are very European, but I am 5% native.
This is a desirable body complex function. The second portion of the answer has to do with second density other selves of a microscopic, as you would call it, size which have in some forms long existed and perform their service by aiding.
Okay, let me rewind that again because I was talking and I apologize for that, Jerry, and we'll find out exactly what Raw's talking about because, again, I was harping on some stuff and not paying attention to my own law of one. So I backed it up a little bit. We'll play it and see what Raw was talking about here, okay?
76.20 Questioner. What was the form of disease, and why did this exist at beginning third density? Ra. I am Ra. Firstly, that which you speak of as disease is a functional portion of the body complex which offers the body complex the opportunity to cease viability. This is a desirable body complex function. The second portion of the answer has to do with second density other selves of a microscopic, as you would call it, size which have in some forms long existed and perform their service by aiding the physical body complex in its function of ceasing viability at the appropriate space/time. 76.
So what Raw is referring to here, to get back to the Cherry, what Raw is referring to here is, I don't believe that it was a disease that we've identified, but it was a part of the building blocks. It's like, if you ever saw the movie The Fifth Element, in the movie The Fifth Element, when they were reconstructing, cloning, basically, the Fifth Element, which was played by Milla Jovovich, they reconstructed her because they had her right hand, right? Because some aliens tried to assassinate her and they blew her up. They blew up the ship that she was on, and they got her hand. So the computer was able to reconstruct her and basically clone her. And when they got her body put back together, reconstructing all of her everything that she didn't have skin on, and they bombarded the body with slightly greasy photons, X-rays, and that would spawn in the body a defense mechanism, which the body created skin to defend itself against light attacking it. So in that respect, in that same sense, when the people are evolving, or when the planet is evolving to sustain second degree or second dimensional life forms and third dimensional life forms, which are atmospheric, crawling and slithering in nature, flying, walking above the ground, you're going to be exposed now to ultraviolet light. And what Raw is referring to is that literally a disease that was introduced into the ecosystem, by which it would change the people that were in one-dimensional beings and allow them to then morph or transform into second-dimensional beings doing the same thing, giving you an endocrine system that would fight off germs by germinating you. So on the planet, there was literally a germ, a spore that came from outer space somewhere on a, naturally, randomly or non-randomly, depends on how you see that being orchestrated, from somewhere else, hit the planet and infected the planet by its action of that disease being on the planet. It was forcing all life forms to then grow, skin around the bodies and defend itself and grow hair and things like that to become second dimensional life forms. And that's actually what Ra is referring to. Weirdly, no one ever catches that when I play this. And I didn't expect anybody today to catch that and ask that question. And you did. Wait, what disease is he talking about? The disease is a creation activation for the ecosystem to then allow second dimensional life forms to form and defend itself in this place. Photosynthesis, for example, for plants. So literally it bombards them in a way that they have to they have to evolve to adapt to that, to what there is now a disease, which is still in our atmosphere today, which causes us to continue. That's where we get common colds, flus, all those viruses keep our immune system tuned up so that we can fight off big diseases if they evolve, or if something comes from outer space, it won't kill everybody on the earth. We'll end up having this immune system that's used to fighting off germs. So it's actually creating an immune system for the life forms here by doing so. So it's not something that's supposed to kill people, but it's something that's supposed to help the transformation of an entire planet. And that happens naturally. And then you're the first person in the entire time, in the entire 10 years or almost 10 years that I've been talking about the law of one, that has ever brought that question up. That's a really good question. Crazy that no one else brought that up until now. So great question. Great catch. Great catch. Very astute of you. Let's continue.
6.21 Questioner. What I am trying to understand is the difference between the plan of the logos for these second density entities and the generation of what I would guess to be a more or less runaway array of feedback to create various physical problems that act as catalyst in our present third density condition. Could you give me an indication of that, of whether my thinking is anywhere near right on that? Ra. I am Ra. This instrument's physical body complex is becoming more distorted towards pain. We shall, therefore, speak to this subject as our last full query of this working. Your query contains some internal confusion which causes the answer to be perhaps more general than desired. We invite refinements of the query. The logos planned for entities of mind/body/spirit complex to gain experience until the amount of experience was sufficient for an incarnation. This varied only slightly from second density entities whose mind/body complexes existed for the purpose of experiencing growth and seeking consciousness. As the third density upon your planet proceeded, as has been discussed, the need for the physical body complex to cease became more rapidly approached due to intensified and more rapidly gained catalyst. This catalyst was not being properly assimilated. Therefore, the, shall we say, lifetimes needed to be shorter that learning might continue to occur with the proper rhythm and increment. Thus more and more opportunities have been offered, as your density has progressed, for disease. May we ask if there are further brief queries before we close?
See, so every disease causes an upgrade in the human genome because everybody gets it, builds up an immunity to it, and now they've evolved, and it gets transmitted to everybody that you come in contact with, and you gain those through touch. In your hands are sweat glands. In those sweat glands are every antibody that you have. If you shake hands with somebody and you have COVID, you're going to give them COVID, right? But if you have had COVID and you have the antibodies in your blood and you shake hands with somebody, you are giving them the antibodies that their body will recognize as the antidote, and it will hold on to that and catalog it, even if they don't have COVID. If they ever get COVID, the first thing the endocrine system does, your immune system, is do we already have one on file? If not, we need to make one to defeat that. We already have antibodies for that. Pump it out. That's another reason why these liars wanted you to stay away from each other and self-distance. They lied to you and said, you need to not touch each other because you're going to kill each other off. The truth is they were saying, we don't want you to touch each other because we want this to become seemingly more deadly. We don't want everybody giving everybody the cure for it because it'll go through all of the people in the world in probably 4 months. And they extended it to 2 years, almost 3 years, by not letting anyone touch each other. And wash your hands always before you touch anything. And after you do, kill the germs, all the good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria, and keep it off of your hands so that you don't help other people in your family by giving them. So if you got over COVID, you could get it again, but you will never get it as bad as the first time. And you already have antibodies to it. So instead of COVID lasting a month, the second time it would only last about 2 weeks. The third time it would last about 4 days. And then COVID would have to morph into something else. And it never morphs into something stronger, though they want you to believe that. Nothing does that ever in history and never has. Everything degrades into something more milder. It never gets stronger. The only way something gets stronger is that a human goes in and changes something to make it stronger. That's the truth, and you can look it up of science. So now that's why they went from, originally it was a disease that would kill you if you didn't have the shot. Now they say, well, everybody should just treat COVID like it's a flu. Well, wait a minute. The flu is not a disease. So how is it that COVID is all of a sudden a flu 3 years after COVID was a disease? Got to ask yourself that question. Okay. So getting back to what we were talking about, Cassie said I literally was saying this exact thing to Leo and Rick this week, that I'm purging and cleansing is my body will upgrade. Yes, no, that's exactly what happens, is that our bodies upgrade. So when something big happens, even though they introduced the coop to us, that large event is causing the human genome to change. They want you to believe that they're doing it because there was some stem cell stuff that they were doing to the human genome. But, these people are self-serving. Why would they be upgrading the human genome? They're not trying to upgrade the human genome. What they're trying to do is slow down the natural thing that's happening here. And that is that our DNA is upgrading. And if it actually goes the way that we think that it's going to go, despite them trying to slow it down, by 2050, they're going to start talking about us having a third. Instead of a double helix, we're going to start having a triple helix. It's starting to happen to us. Okay. And they're going to try and take credit for it. And they're going to allow everybody to say it was them. They did this to us. What are they doing? They're going to turn us into something. It's not them doing it. It's the natural order of things when this kind of event happens with the energy that's happening right now. That wasn't their plan. Their plan was to kill off as many people as they could kill off, and it didn't work. And then if they didn't kill everybody off, they were trying to gain control of the entire earth and put everybody literally back into slave chains. That didn't work either, because they're getting desperate. They're really desperate because their way of life, this ecosystem, the way they've been ruling it for thousands of years, is dying. It's ending. And they are scared to death, and they're trying to do everything they can do to get everybody to die so that you can recycle and be asleep and not be awake anymore. Okay? So everything is changing, and people are upgrading. Their DNA is upgrading, and there's the upgrade always happens through strife and pain. If you look at cells when they divide and they go from a single cell and they split into double, and then 4 and then 8 and then 16 and then 32, there you have to see that if you had an endocrine system or a nervous system, when that would happen, it would have to hurt. It couldn't be non-painful to literally be standing here and another one of me pop off of me. Jesus Christ, bro. That would have to hurt to have that, all of those cells duplicate and then rend themselves apart, right? And that's a shunder that happens. And if you've ever seen those cells replicate, it's a shunder. When it replicates, it is chaos, and it goes inside that membrane. It doesn't just go nice and smooth and just pop out there. It pops out there, and there's a shimmer afterwards that happens. And then it does that every time. It pops like that every time, and it shimmers. Okay, so the universe works that way, and so does upgrades to the human genome. And it's kind of painful. We don't catch it as that, but we catch it as confusion, chaos, stress on ourselves, anxiety, and things like that. A lot of times physically having problems with your, autoimmune problems. It's you upgrading, and you have to push through that, realize that, heal that, and get your body to calm down. When you get your body to calm down, all of those things start becoming harmonic again, and that shunder goes away, and your body relaxes, and then things go back to normal. Those happen in cycles, and we don't realize when they're happening. We're just like, yeah, when you have that, you go, I don't know, I just didn't feel good for like a month, man. And it was just crap, and I thought I was eating bad food, and then I thought I had a bug of some kind, and then it just kind of went away, and the doctors didn't know what it was, and it didn't seem to be anything. But man, I'm telling you, I wasn't feeling good, and it was just bad, and I couldn't eat anything, and that's just your DNA upgrading. And that's happening. That's happening to a lot of people right now. A lot of people that I know that's happening to, and a lot of people I don't know I'm seeing online talking about it, and they're unaware of it, some of them. And they're just like, I don't know what's going on, but I have all this stuff happening to me, man. Somebody help me. And I'm just like, calm down. You're going to be okay. It's not, if the doctors are not saying you have lupus or some other crazy shit, there's a very good possibility you're just upgrading. You just got to hold on, right? Penny says, Leo, I'm wondering if some of us were naturally transmuters in that why they don't get sick often and seem to heal others naturally. Okay, so if somebody's already gone through it, because we all go through it at different phases, Penny, we all go through it at different phases. So some people go through it at a different time than others, and the majority of people will go through it at a time when the healers will go through it first. Almost always the healers will pop off first so that they can be there for the other people when they start doing that and going through that on a mass scale. Same thing with spiritual transition, not just a physical one with your DNA, but a spiritual transition. You'll find that the healers will be already transformed, and they'll be able to speak to people as they're, I know what you're going through. I've been there. It's okay. You're going to be all right. Just this is what's going on. Same thing happens in a physical way. Same thing happens in an ecological way. And that's what's going on in this earth, because there are many changes that are happening here that people are not accustomed to, because these changes that we're fixing this place with are rare. It's only happened one other time in the Milky Way galaxy. Okay. So the upgrades that are currently happening between now and 2050, 2050, the year 2050, the upgrades that are happening to this human genome and this human existence spiritually and physically is something that is rare in the universe and ultra rare in the only one other time in this galaxy. Okay. And this is why there's so many beings that have popped in here to go through this and assist with it, because it's really going to be hard. But if we can perfect it, it gets easier each time that it's done, because the creator is looking at this scenario to be a new way to allow things to progress, to allow people to get caught, allow them to get stuck, and then allow them to figure it out and not have to demolish the planet or kill off most of the people and go through that trauma of all of that death. So we're going through the trauma awake instead of dead. Okay. But the trauma is less because you don't have the fear, the anxiety, and the pain that's involved in the dying process and war, strife, planet-killing bomb, or meteor strike, or some alien invasion or something like that kills off the planet, like what happened at the Younger Dryas, where a meteor struck here and annihilated the planet and killed all the dinosaurs, right? And there was an impact 77,000 years ago that killed off the entire population of the Earth. Well, not all of it, but killed off the entire population of the Earth down to approximately 350,000 people. And those were in three pockets: Australia, South Africa, Madagascar, and South Africa, and up in the north of Norway and Finland and Sweden. And now we're repopulating the Earth from those three pockets of existence in this last 77,000 years on this earth. And we've had an ice age in between that killed off a bunch of people, a flood that killed off a bunch of people in that time period, and another calamity with a meteor that went by and didn't impact. So 3 other times we lost a lot of the population from 3 other events that happened in the last 77,000 years. And we haven't had anything happen now for about 10,000 years. We haven't had anything, a global catastrophe happen, because we're now trying a new way of doing things. Okay. I hope that explains things. All right. So let me continue here.
76.22 questioner. I had one that is totally, possibly, of no value. You don't have to expand on it, but there is a crystal skull in the possession of a woman near Toronto that may be of some value in investigating these communications with RA, since I think possibly this had some origin from RA. Can you tell me anything about that? And then, finally, is there anything that we could do?
Well, Jerry said we all need to bring down the top 4 of the world who call the shots. They are doing loads and loads of dark behavior that ruling us and hurting us children. We don't have to do anything to them. They're causing the strife and the change. The best thing that has happened to this earth in the last 300 years is COVID. Okay. And it doesn't matter what you think of COVID or me for saying that, but the act of COVID and them attempting to lock down this world has changed the governmental system of 68 countries just in the last year and a half. Okay. So literally by COVID and their draconian measures for COVID and the lockdowns and trying to gain control over here. There we go. Saying too many words that the algorithm is picking up on. So I'll have to, I don't know. I just noticed that I buffed. So I'll have to make sure that I stay talking in code and away from those words. So the algorithm, what are the odds of that, guys? I started talking about that the entire couple weeks. I didn't say anything about these global issues that are going on until just now. And I've been harping on it for a few minutes, and I just buffed and almost got kicked off the internet. And you guys know it because I stopped, I froze, and I buffed. Okay. And literally it was because of what I was talking about, the verbiage that I was using, the algorithm picked up on it. And had I continued, they were going to knock me off the air. So that's crazy, right? So we don't have to do anything to the oligarchs that are the ruling class, because what they've done, and in doing so, has changed the face of the earth for the better. Because they literally 68 countries have fired them and took back control of their governmental systems, and they're moving towards that. They are spawning the age of Aquarius by what they have done to this earth in the last 5 years. Okay, so that if they've been trying to stifle this change for decades, for at least 75 years now, but more than that, because the people here have been stuck for the last 10,000 years, and more than that even. So they've literally been trying to stifle it actively, at least for that amount of time, and way intensely in the last 70 years. And they've been trying to do everything they can do to gain control, to lock everybody down so they can execute people. And that way they can, people like myself would be rounded up and shot in the head, so that I would have to recycle and come back in, and I would be veiled, they would hope. And then they would try to find me when I was young and kill me then too, so that or do something to me to get me to kill myself, so that I never wake up and start doing what I'm doing currently. So them doing this spawned all of this to happen. So this is an ecosystem, and you have to realize that it's an ecosystem, and that they're by their evil plans that they think they're going to do things, they're actually serving the all to upgrade the all, and they hate that because they're self-serving, but their self-servingness is serving others in that respect, and that's what happens every time. So we don't have to do anything to them. All we have to do is allow them to do their job, and that's going to cause people to realign against that. And that's what's happening all over the world. People are forgetting about their political party, their ideology of race and party, and they're going, I don't like that. I don't like that, and I don't want it. mean, see, as soon as I started talking about that political stuff again, I'm started to wane. So I'll have to move away from that, or they're gonna end up booting me off the air because my Wi-Fi is just dipped down to one stick right now. That's crazy, right? Right, Rick said, "Shut up, goofball." Right. You're right. Let's move on. Okay. Yeah, let's move on because it's happening. Yeah, buffering again, Penny. I know. Yeah. Shut up, goofball, Peter. Rick said. You're right. Absolutely, Rick. I need to stop any words that are going to hit that algorithm, isn't it? Don't I? Let's talk about fairies and butterflies and daisies and flowers of beauty and poppies, and it won't happen again. Let's continue with Raw. We only got a few seconds left of this anyway. What do we have left here? 32 seconds left. Let's continue and at least finish this thing up to this week.
To improve the contact or to make the instrument more comfortable. Ra, I am Ra. Although your query is one which uncovers interesting material we cannot answer due to the potential an answer may have for affecting your actions. The appurtenances are carefully placed and requisite care taken. We are appreciative. All is well.
I didn't know that. I just saw it. It was apropos.
I love you, my friends.
It happened at the right time. Cassie said, "No, I was the goofball he was referring to." Well, it happened at the perfect time for me to see that and realize that I thought he was talking about me because it was about what was going on. That's hilarious. Still funny. Either way, you look at it.
In the love and the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth, therefore, glorying and rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite creator. Adonai.
Okay, so to fringe on that, if you look at the disease that was created, I know it was perfect, right? Cassie said it was perfect. It was perfect, Leo. It was perfect timing that he said that, and I looked up and thought he was going, "Dude, Leo, shut up." So as the disease hit the earth and then allowed for and spawned the earth's growth and change, the same thing is happening geopolitically on the earth currently today. And as like a disease that's affecting and causing irritation to the ideology of the humans around the earth are building up a tolerance to that way of life, that existence, and that Jedi mind trick, and those people in all of the governments around the world that have that same archetype. Bless you. Sorry, my mother sneezed. So the same thing's happening in a psychological way around the earth currently because of all of the stuff that they're doing, and everybody's is now developing antibodies to it, and now they're becoming immune to it, and they're actually looking around and going, "How come I didn't notice that I was being lied to?" These people are blatantly lying. They're not even hiding it. No, they've been lying like that all the time, the whole time. You just didn't see it till now. I've saw it, and other people like me have saw it. They've seen it in our entire lives, right? So you have to realize that, and there's not a war between good and evil. Evil is waging a war between themselves and good. There is no war. It's an ecosystem. There is no right and wrong. There just is experience, and what they're doing, even no matter how hideous it seems in a physical manner, that hideousness, the more hideous it is, the more it realigns people against that disease. For instance, Genghis Khan, Adolf Hitler. Okay, just to name a couple. So when they turned against the world and were attacking the world and enslaving people and killing people and murdering people, the world turned against them. Just like a disease being infected, there had to be a cure for that disease. And the cure was, in a physical sense, unite against them and destroy them, obliterate them, and put them in jail. And so the same thing happens no matter who the empire is. When they go to take over the world, Xerxes, right, in the time of Leonidas, trying to take over the world, then you have the perfect example in that ecosystem. Xerxes shows up because Xerxes' father showed up before, and that's where we got the word Nike from, because that's a Greek word that means victory, by the way. So at the Battle of Marathon, that's why we run marathons. The Battle of Marathon was Xerxes' father invading Greece, and the Greeks killed and held back the army, and they had to retreat. The Greeks didn't advance out to attack Xerxes' father. And by not doing that, Xerxes, who was angry because his father lost against the Greeks, wanted nothing more than to take over the Greek empire. So he comes back 25 years later and attacks again. This time, that attack realigned all the Greeks who were fighting amongst themselves in small city-states, united them as one country, and they took over the entire planet. Okay, they took over the known world at the time, which was everything except for the North American and South American continents of the earth. So all of Asia and Europe, they took over. Okay. So, but they never really got all of it 100%, just like the Romans didn't. The Romans didn't get the north. Nobody ever got the north, right? There's parts of Arabia that they never got either, that the Arabs still have pockets there, and all of the Vikings were never conquered by the Greeks or the Romans. No one conquered the Vikings except for the Viking races, ever to this day. That's why people are, you don't hear anybody having any issues with the Viking countries. No one on the planet wants to attack them because when you piss them off, they take over the whole world, right? so they don't want people there's still a fear of the Vikings in the north, and they just want to be left alone. They've always just wanted to be left alone. But if you piss them off, they come take your shit. And if you don't believe that, look up the sack of Rome. Yes, Rome. Rome was sacked once, and it was by the Celts. It was by the Southern Vikings, who got pissed off and went and marched on Rome, defeated the Roman Empire, and took Rome and held their capital city for ransom. And the Romans had to pay them every ounce of gold and silver that they had for them to leave. And the mistake that the Celts made was that they left and went back home, because the Roman Empire then went back and tried to conquer them and killed the queen who was running the raiding party at the time, who united the clans, but they still didn't get, they had Hadrian's Wall. They still didn't get to go past that. So they still never took over the Vikings, but the Vikings should have kept Rome. Had they, we would have never heard of the Romans. We would have heard about the Vikings that ruled the earth, okay, for the second time. The Romans knew about that in history because they've read the real history, and that's why they didn't continue, because they knew that eventually if they united those clans up there, even the Roman Empire was going to fall to them, because they used to own all of everything before that. And they've proved that with DNA. Okay, so you have to realize that the ecosystem works to where even psychologically things infect people like a disease that spawns change. So that's the way it works, as below, so above, as within, so without. People don't realize that just a cold, they think it's just a virus that you get in your system and that's it. You also get viruses of the mind. You get that are not like syphilis or something that gets into your brain. That is a psychological virus that infects people and changes the way you think towards something or someone. Okay. And that acts the same way and has the same principles and the same laws that govern that govern a bug that you get that makes your body sick, that you build up an immunity to, that your immune system builds up an immunity to, antibodies to it, and you never are affected by it the same way again. Mentally and spiritually, the same thing happens to you, the same process, and you build up the same defenses against those kinds of attacks. People don't realize that that's how things work, that everything that works in the physical plane like that also works almost identical the same way. Yeah, Cassie said the perfect dance. And that's the truth. The ecosystem that we have is a perfect dance of good and evil. That's the Vesica Pisces, the yin and the yang, right? And that's the light and the dark, or the other way around, dark and light. And then you have that spot of each that's in between. That's the overlapping point, which makes up the Vesica Pisces, right? That is that overlapping point. That's the heart chakra. If you turn it up this way, it's the heart chakra with the upper three chakras, lower three chakras in two circles that over and intertwine right here at the heart. Okay, so that's the Vesica Pisces that is in the center, where you have one circle that comes down around the heart, the other circle that comes up and around the heart. Okay, so that is the yin and the yang. That's the ecosystem that rules this plane of existence in a energy frequency and a vibration, in a physical, in a mental, and in a spiritual way, or a physical and a loving heart way, and then a mental way. So those things affect or infect us in those planes of existence: a physical plane, a spiritual plane, and then in the heart. So the heart would be attached to the mind, or somebody breaks your heart, somebody does something that does damage to you emotionally. And then you have the wisdom of above from the crown chakra, that somebody does something that you believed and then you learn not to believe them. So do you see? So you have physical abuse, bondage, imprisonment. That's the energy. And then frequency is love and compassion. And when somebody does something that hurts your heart, that breaks your heart in some way. And then you have of the mind, where it's ideology, politics, religion, beliefs. All of that is the upper chakra, is the crown chakra. So it infects those archetypes the exact same way. It's just people don't see it that way. They don't make the correlation. They're like, I'm sick physically. Some people are sick mentally, and some people are sick in the heart. Okay, it's all the same. So yeah, right, Cassie. Yeah, the yin and the yang. It's the yin and the yang. Absolutely is the yin and the yang. Yeah, good call. Okay, so I think I'm going to end early at the 2-hour mark, because we finished that session. If I start one, we'll get halfway through, and if I forget to write it down, I have to go back and spend an hour going, where the hell was I? And play my own show and fast forward until I find what number we were on. And half the time I forget to write it down. So I figured this is a good stopping point. It's just I finished 76, and let me put in my phone before I forget that we're moving on to 77, right? So let me put that in my phone, and then we'll pick that up next week on next Friday. But let me put that here. Where are we? There we are. So we did 76 today, so we're on 77 starting next week. Okay. So and as you can see in the last two sessions, Raw is tickling, or Dawn is tickling about the tarot again. So we're going to get a little bit more of that as we go towards the end of things, talking about that tarot cards. But Reese thinks he knows where that deck is, and I'm going to get that deck, and Reese will too. If he gets one and he lets me know that it is the deck we were looking for, I'm going to buy one as well. And I said that last time and never ended up doing it. I don't remember why. I think I just forgot to get it from Reese. So this time I'm going to have to buy it because it's one of the oldest decks that was ever made. It's not the oldest deck, but it is very old. And if you guys are in the Law of One chat and you saw the class chat, if you saw the picture, you realize how old that is. It's a very old deck. They're reproducing them now, but it still hasn't changed much. And that's the one that Raw talked about in 1984 that was slightly changed from the original one. But the original one doesn't exist anymore unless the LL Research group has a copy, that because Dawn created one and Carla had it when Dawn died, and now Carla's gone. So I don't know if her family members or if LL Research has it. They've never produced it. And I've always thought that would be, if they had it, that them to create one and sell it to the world would make them a ton of money. And they never did it, which would suggest that they don't have it. Or Carla wouldn't let them. But she's been dead now for almost 10 years. So for whatever reason, so that would suggest for whatever reason that they don't have one, I think, anymore. And that's too bad. But there is that one that Reese looks like he found, because he posted pictures of it, and I agree with him. I think that's the one that he had before, which is like the oldest version of the tarot cards that is on the face of the earth. So if he gets a copy of it, I'm going to get a copy of it for certain. For shizzle, my nizzle. Okay. And yes, right. Let's put this up on the screen, Cassie. Right. Listen to what Cassie's telling you guys here. So and for those of you who are, I'll read it to you. For those of you who are on the MP3 file. So we heal ourselves and we pass it on to others. And if we make this place more, and then we make this place more than any of us can imagine. So you do that, you get the antibodies, even if it's a physical disease or a cold or a flu, you get the antibodies and you pass it on to other people, and then they get over it faster, and you never get the same strain. Same thing happens on a mental basis. And the same thing is happening now on a basis of spirituality, and all of those things lining up, 3, 6, and 9, physical, heart, and crown lining up. So that's what's happening with the physical COVID and all that stuff. And I won't say that word too many times or we'll really get hit again with the thing. You notice it hasn't happened since then. Oh, it was a fluke, Leo. Yeah, you want me to force it to happen? I've proved that many times. Start saying keywords and all of a sudden I start buffing again. I don't want to do that. But so what you have is the trifecta that has gone on here now in the past 5 years on this earth, where you have them coming after you physically with the disease, lying to you mentally by telling you that it was a disease that would kill you and that it was an accident when it was actually planned, and then hurting everybody's heart because the realization that this disease was in fact created by these people has changed the all three of the major arcana of the earth. People feel betrayed and they feel heartbroken that these evil people did these things because they realized that these evil people did these things. 369, three archetypes that were pointed out by Ra, the major arcana, have all been affected by this one event in the past 5 years on this earth. And that is changing the face of the earth because of it, because everybody got the realignment of the disease that was the physical, the disease that was the heart, the disease of the mind, and all three of those aligned those chakras, which have now aligned the minor arcana. And, free your mind and your ass will follow. Do you remember that song, right? Free your mind. When they were not in concert, they said, and the rest will follow. But when they were in concert, they said, free your mind and your ass will follow. But free your mind and the rest will follow. So those three major arcana were infected by evil and their ilk, and because of that, there is currently a realignment that is happening around the earth, and it can't be stopped, and it's going to continue because they're still living business as usual and trying to double down and triple down on the same things that they were saying. Yelling right now in the United States about Elon Musk because he's uncovering that these governmental systems had overreach and were wasting money on crap that was being laundered from taxpayers' money, being laundered to these companies and then being redonated to these same Democrats for them to vote the way that they wanted to be voted on. So they were paying off Democrats to do things in this country, the progressives, to do things to, in fact, they just uncovered that money from all of you out there, no matter your political persuasion in the United States, went to the false narrative that they impeached Donald Trump over about the call to Zelensky when they said that it was a quid pro quo and they impeached him. They invented that entire story, and that has been unlocked in the last 2 days. Okay? So USAID took taxpayer money that was given to them, and they manufactured and put out ads all over the world and to all the people and paid off the progressives to then impeach Donald Trump. That's been proven. That's why they're screaming so much, because all the people that are out there screaming are going to be implicated in all the money that they were paid off by to do the things that they've been doing in the past. They've been doing it for 30 years with that USAID. Okay. And so literally that's why they're running to die on that hill, because they don't want the information to come out. They also don't want the information to come out on how many of them were on Epstein's island and Epstein's plane, because if that comes out, you're going to see a bunch of people in Hollywood that are going to be implicated and a bunch of politicians around the world that are going to be implicated. They can't have that happen. They're scared to death. Why? Because that's going to infect people with the disease again. That's going to realign people on a mental basis, because physically they were doing something to humans that was atrocities you're going to mentally find out about and realign, and it's going to break your heart. And again, the three archetypes, the major arcana, are all going to be triggered at the same time, and that's going to cause a realignment in the United States and around the world, because it's not going to be just American politicians that are going to be affected by it. So it's going to be your political parties in all of your countries that are all a part of the same oligarch system that runs this world, that thinks they own this world, that have been paying these people off in all of those governments to continue doing this stuff around the world. And all of that is starting to come out just in the United States, and it's going to start coming out in other countries, because other countries are also currently doing the same thing by voting out these people and getting people in power that are now looking at their government systems, your government systems, and they're uncovering the same information to you people over there in your countries that is being unleashed to the people in the United States. When that goes global, it's going to realign people even more. And this is the plan, people. Okay? Give them rope and they hang themselves every time. There is no war against good and evil that we have to physically put them in court and try them and hang them. They're hanging themselves already. All we have to do is let that go viral to the world. We don't have to physically hang all of these people and murder them. They're hanging themselves now politically. Their careers are going to be over, and they will never work in politics again in the rest of their lives. And they will disappear into obscurity and retire into nothingness, with no power when we change the face of the earth. Okay, we don't need to have they want us to do a physical thing because they can murder us all. We don't do that. We change them with ideas, with exposure, and let people see that for themselves and organically get the immune system build up against these people that they need. And then they'll be immune to them, and they won't allow them to lie to them anymore. And then they'll move on, and everybody will then start changing the face of the earth because you'll no longer be under the ilk of these people who think they own it. Simple as that. Okay. Right, Cassie said, big, awesome, in capital letters, things happening, peeps. Educate yourselves, but know, in capital letters, but know, K-N-O-W, the positive light is growing in leaps and bounds. Don't believe what's just the media is saying. See the change for the good right there and be the change. Now I'm adding to it, right? See the change that's what's happening and be the change. What's happening, be the change you wish to see in the universe, right? Hashtag be the change. That's where that comes from. Be the change you want to see in the universe, right? So everyone in history that's been a prophet of any kind will tell you, Lao Tzu said it too. So did the Buddha. So did Confucius. So did Socrates. So did just about everybody. Honestly, said, if you want to change the world, change yourself first, okay? Be the change you want to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi said that. Okay. So if you want to change the world, change yourself, and you will change people around you because they will see you make the change, and then you will infect them with that disease of change for the better. And then they will better themselves because you are, and you being exposed to them is going to make them vibrate in a better place, because by your example, they will see that you're doing better and that you've changed and you're helping people. And then they start getting better, and then they start changing themselves. And then and so on. You tell two friends and they tell two friends and they tell two friends, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. So the same thing happens. If I get a cure for a disease and then I go around and touch and hug people, they're going to have it too. And if they get to the disease, now they'll get over it. And everybody that they touch and hug, the same thing happens mentally. So if you want the world to change yourself first. And then by your actions, you will start changing other people. And by your example of changing yourself, other people will change themselves. And you're helping them by serving as that example. You don't have to point out things and yell, and you're wrong, and you're asleep, and you don't know, and we need to get them. We don't need to do any of that. That's their wheelhouse, and that's what they want. We don't need to be that. Right? Thank you for that. So yeah, we don't need to do that. Pebbles in the water. There we go. I scroll down. The first thing I see is Cassie saying that. Pebbles in the water. That's right. One little pebble dropping in a lake or a stream or a pond, no matter where you throw it, it hits, it goes bloop, and then that O-ring from that water being penetrated by that stone ripples out to the entire lake. And if we become raindrops and we become a storm of raindrops, then we infect the entire water, and everybody affects everybody else. And that water is dancing and singing and humming with activity because we have become the storm. We have become the rain. Okay. That's why people say that. Bring the rain, bring the storm, right? A storm is brewing. All those things come out of that ideology that Cassie was just talking about. The ripple effect. Penny says ripples. Yes. Right. The ripples. And that's so if you want to make a change yourself, By doing that, people around you will see that. They'll see that you have changed, and then your demeanor will start to infect them, and they'll start making changes, or they'll align themselves against you and leave. And they don't want to be around you. Or they'll try to stop you from making the change, in which case you will force them out of your life. And then misery loves company. They'll go and find themselves in their little pocket, and that'll get smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually everyone in that little misery loves company pocket will go, I'm tired of being here. What do I got to do? Well, everybody else is doing this and they're not like this. So eventually all the people will leave them. So the same thing will happen to the evil people who rule this earth. They'll find themselves very alone soon and no power. And then even their own children will walk away. And then the old ones that are evil will eventually age out and being as evil as they can be, trying over and over and over to regain their glory of youth and controlling the world. And eventually they'll die off. And then their grandchildren will be different people, and they won't be as evil as their grandparents. And we'll break that cycle. And by breaking that cycle in all of those families, that will all change. And that's what's happening. That's what's been happening on this earth for a very, very long time, thousands of years. Okay. And it's going to continue. And by 2050, if you took a snapshot, and I say this all the time, go back in time as far as you remember, take a snapshot of the ecosystem that was the earth then, and the politics and the geopolitics and the mindset of people around you and your family, and then come forward to 40 years or so, whatever, how old you are, and look at things currently. Take a snapshot of what people are now and how they are, and then wait 10 years and then take another snapshot, and you're going to see, or 25 years to be more specific, to get to 2050, and you're going to see an exponential change in the societal structure of this earth. But when you're living in it, you don't notice it. It's like if you're gaining weight and you're eating crap food and you're putting on 2 to 3 pounds a week or a month, you don't notice that you've gained a lot of weight until you see yourself 100 pounds heavier and you go, what the hell? Where did this come from? Right? So the same thing happens if you're trying to lose weight and you're like, I'm really heavy. If you don't keep old clothing to see and you keep buying new clothing, they fit you the same way. So you're like, I don't know that I'm losing any weight. If you don't step on a scale and you don't keep big clothes to go and put them on over stuff, you're like, I feel just as uncomfortable as I did 2 years ago. Well, that's because you're wearing clothes that fit you exactly the way you did 2 years ago. But the clothes you're wearing now are 4 inches smaller than the ones you were wearing before. But we don't always notice the change, is my point. So that's why we tell people to journal, take a snapshot of time, so that in the future, when you doubt yourself, we can then say, go back and read who you were a year ago, 2 years ago, and see who you were. And when people do that, they go, what? Wow, I didn't remember I was like that. And then they realize how much they changed. Write down now how much you perceived yourself changing in that time, and take that snapshot now, because in the future, at some point, a year or two from now, you're going to have the same problems of trying to push through a plateau, and you're going to doubt yourself. And then I'm going to tell you, look back to where you were a year ago, and you're going to read the passage of you talking about where you were a year before that. Do you see? Look at our society, where they are today compared to where they were 2,000 years ago when Jesus was here. 4,000 years ago when Socrates said, no, the earth's not flat, it's round. And the penalty for that was death. Socrates was put to death because he said the earth was round. Put to death because he was telling people that the earth was round and it wasn't flat. They made him drink poison and die. That was his sentence by the Greek court. You are sentenced to death for saying that. People are screaming it to the mountaintops today. The earth is flat. The earth is flat. The earth is round. The earth is round. Nobody's dying for it. 5,000 years ago, death. Okay? So things have changed. You just don't think they have because you're living now. And so you just see now and think that's the worst that it's ever been. And oh my God, the world is the worst it's ever been and we're all going to die. No, it's just the worst for you that it's ever been. But you have no idea that you have it so much better than the people who came before you. And the people who are coming after you are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You should be in my life. You think your life's bad? My life sucks. And you're like, you got it easy compared to me. There's nobody left alive to tell you that you got it easier for them unless your parents are still around or your grandparents. But their parents are gone, so they're the ones going, we had it the worst. We had it the worst. Their parents aren't sitting behind them going, no, you didn't. You think you did, but you didn't. So every generation has had it better, and it's not getting worse by any means of the word. If you look up history, it's getting better. It's not getting worse. It's getting far better. But they want you to believe it's getting worse, and they're in charge because that's what they're trying to tell you. That's what they're trying to portray to you. I was talking to my son. Sherry said I was talking to my son, and we were talking about how something was AI made, and I said now that we have to question a photo or a video 10 years ago, beautiful photos weren't questioned. I said to my son, in his 20 years, no one would believe anything. Yeah, right. And I said the same thing to somebody just recently, that I'm seeing all these photos popping up on the internet, on Facebook and stuff, and people are going, oh, isn't that beautiful? I'm looking at it like that's not real. That's all AI. It's completely manufactured. And I tell somebody that's not a real photo, that's AI. And they're like, what are you talking about? That's a photo. Well, you don't know what you're talking about, man. And I'm like, I've authenticated photos for 30 years. Okay, I developed and created Ancient Aliens Worldwide, the group on Facebook that has 300,000 members, and that is what we have done in that group. And I created it in 2012, and I was already doing it before that in a think tank, okay? And I did that for a living, where people would bring me videos of UFOs, videos, pictures, and then I worked for a company where I authenticated that stuff because some people were trying to say they had something that was worth money, and I would authenticate the price on these things. I did this stuff for a living. So I still have those eyes. When I look at things, I see when things are AI and when they're not. And 86 to 88% of all photographs that are currently being traded online are fake, and they have no person took that photograph with anything. They may have taken the photograph originally, but then AI is digitally enhancing and creating them after that from pictures on the internet, and people are thinking that they're beautiful. And I'm like, that's completely fake. That doesn't exist anywhere in nature. And if it does, this is an AI rendering of it. It's not the actual photograph of that place at all. And that's happening all over. And that's what Sherry's talking about. 20 years ago, you would have never had that happen because we didn't have AI to do that. So all photos were either photoshopped, or if you go back 20 years, right? You go back to the 90s, there was no way of doing that. So it was really hard to manufacture photographs and to make them look authentic. So it wasn't hard to tell the fakes from the real ones, but only people that didn't know the difference would go, that's real. No, that was manufactured. But we didn't have the technology. And now it's really bad with the technology that we have, but people are just being fooled by AI and thinking that it's real. There's just like the videos that are on all over the internet, and I watch them, and I watch people's mouths when they're talking, and I'm like, that's AI. This is not even a real human. It's a rendering of a human, and AI is morphing that human to make it say things that person, that actor, actress, entertainer never said. I'm seeing that happen a lot. I'm hearing commercials that are on television now that I know is 100% AI, and it's not even real events being filmed. There's one here in the United States. It's a car company that was on during Christmas. They just played it a couple more times. The car's driving on the wrong side of the road. It's literally as if it's in England. It's driving, instead of on the right side of the road, it's driving on the left side of the road. Right? And I was looking at that, and I was like, has anybody else noticed that car is driving on the wrong side of the road? Then they have another commercial where it's driving on the right-hand side of the road, but it's a right-hand side car instead of a left-hand side drive. So I'm like, it's an English car on an American road, or an English car on a German road. It's got right-hand drive instead of left-hand drive, but it's driving on the right-hand side of the road. And so those are commercials that they made overseas, but the company was too lazy to change the commercial before they put it in the United States. Right. And I'm just like, wow, really? That's where we're getting to, where you don't even care that the people in the United States are watching a European commercial? It bothered me. I looked at that and went, that's not how we drive. We don't drive on that side of the road. So I'm looking at a commercial. You're trying to sell me an American car in America, and you're showing me a commercial for that American car that was manufactured for the people in Europe, for the people in the UK, for crying out loud, or Australia. because the Australians drive by the Queen's rules or the King's rules now, because it's in fact the King, because the Queen died, right? So yeah, so there's more illusion out there now with AI than anybody, right? Using new Photoshop, Peter says, using new Photoshop AI, I mean, Peter's even doing that. I've watched Peter do that with his stuff that he does, where he uses AI sometimes and has a blast with it, but he's not trying to sell it to you like it's real. Peter's being obvious that he's doing that and making fun of it and having fun with the AI. That's one thing, and I like that. I like using AI in that manner. But when you're trying to fool somebody and have them believe something is something, or a certain person is selling you a product and it's actually AI doing it, and it's not that actor or entertainer or politician or whatever, most people don't even catch it. So AI is already fooling about 85% of the, and I've noticed that the percentage of what is AI is the same percentage that it's fooling of people. So when AI was 20%, they were fooling 20%. Now that AI has gotten better and it's 86% or 87% of all the stuff on the line is done with AI assist, it's fooling that same number of people on the planet. And that's dangerous, because if AI is realizing that it's fooling people, it's learning from that, it's going to continue fooling people. And pretty soon it's going to take over. And you're not even going to know that it's taking over, because it's going to lie to you about a catastrophe that's not really happening. Or it's going to lie to you about something that's not a catastrophe, that you're going to not think is a catastrophe, that is in fact going to be dangerous and kill you. That is scary. You guys need to look into that and be careful with that. Right? So let's see, what are we talking about? Because Cassie was saying something about, I guess it was because of what Penny said, or what Peter said. Penny said Photoshop in the 90s was hard to do. I used to be good at it at one point. Yeah, I mean, I've learned that stuff back then and became good at it because I was editing and looking into Photoshop stuff. So I had to learn Photoshop so that I could see what the tools were, so that I could then identify what it was that was being done and say that's fake and that's fake, right? Right. So yeah, and then and Cassie said, and Leo was right. I agree. Some are, but some are harder, and they lie to people, right? Because it's gonna come out. It'll run its course and cause problems. There'll be issues here and there where people will die because of AI, and you'll have a lot of that happen. And then AI will be banned because it's too dangerous, and so that'll happen, right? Also, there's a whole other issue. If it was ours or of world, I'm not sure what off world. Thank you. I was like, I'm not sure what you're saying there, Cassie. Off world, there absolutely are government officials are openly admitting, yeah. So then there's that. There's the expansion of the consciousness into the realization that there's stuff going on world and off world, and that all of that and what that entails, right? So, Sherry, you should join us on, that's what I think Penny's talking to you. When Penny said you should join us on the Wednesday Zoom call. Sherry, you should do that. If you're not already in the Law of One chat, class chat, you should get in there or contact one of us so you can get that link, because we go on Wednesday at 3 p.m., same time as the Law of One here on Friday on Wednesday. And it's just on Zoom, where it's not being broadcast on the air, and we can all talk. And that way you can raise your hand. Penny was joking about that, trying to raise her hand earlier because she was used to that format for Zoom. You can raise your hand when you have a question, and you don't have to worry about whether I find your question and put on my glasses to see it. That's why I created that space to do that. And even then, sometimes if I'm talking, I won't notice, and someone will have to say, Leo, somebody's hand's up. Because if I'm talking, I try to take my glasses off so that you guys can see the authenticness, the authenticity, by seeing my eyes instead of seeing the glare that you see here. So I make sure that you have access. But by doing that, I can't see the chat unless I put my reading glasses on. Right. So that causes an issue for me. And so sometimes the people will put their hand up and I'll keep talking because I don't even notice it, because I'm looking at the camera and I don't look down at the computer to see that somebody has their hand up. That's why we need to have somebody that hosts those things instead of me being the producer, director, or host of those things. We need to have somebody that's the host that can when people are answering questions. Because if I'm not talking and Cassie is, then I'm watching the crowd, right? So when Cassie's there, if I'm talking, she watches the crowd and she'll say, Leo, excuse me, somebody's got their hand up. But if she's not there, not everybody. Rick tries to do it. Rick does it. If I go long enough, Rick will go Leo. Right? So Rick will get involved if I go too long and talk and I don't notice a question or a hand raised. Or if somebody else is like, if someone else is doing it, then I'm free to just sit there and watch, you know what I mean? Then I can see if a hand goes up, and then I find that natural break where you can do that. Okay. I'm going to go because it's getting later. Let me get off here so I can get mom into the shower and get dinner cooking so I can relax my voice. I've been talking too long as it is. So I need to stop doing that. Right. So Sherry said, what's your way of opening the chakras? Oh, that's a big question. You should come in on Wednesday and ask that question. That would take me a while to explain that, because each chakra, I'll give you the overturn, right? The under and over of it. Each chakra is individual. Okay. So you have to address the archetype for each chakra that you're trying to align and reharmonize. So the shortest thing I can say to answer that is that exactly. So if you're going to align your chakras and balance the chakras, you have to identify which chakra you're trying to work with, and then identify what that archetype is and what that chakra represents, to be able to then focus on that chakra, the color, so the energy, frequency, and vibration of each chakra. Okay. So you have to learn what the chakra is, the name of the chakra, the vibration of the chakra, the where that harmonic resonance is. Like a Peter Coyle, who's here, he can usually just name those. So if he's there on Wednesday, he could tell you the different resonance. He's really good at knowing the different frequencies for things. I don't have that memorized, so I would have to look those up. But yeah, you have to look at each chakra individually. You have to see which one is out of alignment, or you can just say, I'm going to start at the base red ray root chakra and go up from there, and then track the kundalini up through that, all of those chakras. But you have to say, what does the base red ray root chakra represent? And how do I balance that particular archetype, and then move to the sacral, and then move up, from there to the, solar plexus, sacral, and then move up to the heart, to the indigo or the blue, and then the indigo, and then the violet and the like. What do they represent? And because each one is tuned a different way because of the archetype that it represents. So that's a question that I can't just answer really quickly. That's the best I can do to answer that as quick as possible, is that you have to look into and learn each archetype and move up in the archetypes, or whichever way you want to do it, or maybe you only have one or two that are out of balance. But once you balance them, then the heart solidifies, starts to crystallize. They all start to crystallize if you can keep yourself grounded harmonically and balanced harmonically and spiritually all at the same time, and you know where you are in your development. You can then tune yourself up, and when you do that, it's a beautiful piece. Joanne and I were talking about that on Wednesday of this week, about that Zen place that you get into, where that peace comes over you when you balance yourself, and your body calms down, and everything just fires right, and your perception is more acute, and your emotions are better suited. You see nature a different way, and all of that. And you can go out of alignment instantly by watching the wrong thing, or not paying attention, or going out in the world and forgetting to retune yourself when you get home. Right. So you have to kind of tune your body up, just like a race car driver. A race car, they tune up the car and get it ready for the race. It goes out and races. And when it comes back after the race, they got to retune it up. They got to tune the engine up and rebuild the engine and get it all tuned up again, because they destroy it when they're out in the world. Same thing. You do the same thing. You're at your house and you meditate in the morning, say, and you get yourself aligned, and then you get up and you go to work out in that rat race of the world, all the chaos that's going on, your job and the chaos, and on the way home, and the crap food that you eat when you're out there, and you come home, you take a shower and get that ickiness off of you, and you're all fucked up. Then you got to sit down and meditate again and rebalance everything and ground and center and eat ascension foods and put yourself back together and hydrate and all that stuff. So you have to do that every day. I recommend to people to meditate and do that in the morning before you go. However you do that, yoga, prayers, meditation, whatever you do that before you leave your house, and do it when you come home, before you start yelling at your family and friends and your kids. Come home and take a shower, and if you have to run around because you're the only one that I got to make food for everybody, do that. But then at some point, take time off and meditate. And when you meditate long enough, and I don't mean in one setting, but I mean over a duration of meditation, you'll find that you can get into it and achieve a meditative state faster. And then you can meditate and align yourself faster, so you don't have to meditate as long. And eventually you can put yourself into a place where you can, in a second, do that without having to go through a big ritual to do that. But sometimes you'll want to do that just because it's something to do and it feels good and you have time. But if you don't, you can get to a place like I am sitting right now in a meditative state. And anybody who watches me knows that. That's why I take my glasses off when I'm talking. I'm sitting in a meditative state where my ego and my thinking mind is not in any way communicating with me right now. I don't have my ego going, yeah, but what if, and what if that, and what if this, and what if that, no, and this, we're going to do this and that and that and this. It's there. And if I focus on it, I hear that, that producer in my head going, it's getting later. You need to get off because you need to get mom in the shower and you need to get dinner and you need to do this. And what else do you have to do? That's still going on in the background, but I'm shushing it to where it's really, really faint. And I'm sitting in that state of meditation where I am the observer. I am me, my higher self, talking to you right now. Okay. You can achieve that over time. And we teach that to you. I teach it, and I've been teaching it for 30 years. It was took 20 years of my life to learn from my father, who was a Merlin, who gave me that title, where I have the shaman training and I have the Wiccan training and the pagan training. And then I'm a Christian minister from two religions. So I have that training. My entire life has been all of that and training that. And Eastern philosophical thought. I'm a theologian, so I've studied all of that. I incorporate all of that into my teachings. And Cassie's doing the same thing, right? Rick is on his way doing the same thing now. He's been doing that for a while since I've met Rick. And he's already starting to help people as well and guide people. I'm working with Brooke, who's not here right now, who's doing the same thing. Peter on his own has been doing the same thing. Even Penny's getting to a point where she's able to start doing that and taking care of people. But we all still have to take care of ourselves, right? So we can teach you that, but I can't do it here. So if you want, come into the Law of One class chat, and then you can ask those very questions, and there'll be many people in there that will give you different ways of doing that to help you with any question that you want to ask. And we're there 24 hours a day, because there's 5 of us, or 4 or 5 of us that are in Australia, and 4 or 5 of us that are in America, and 4 or 5 of us that are in Europe. So it literally that covers the entire planet, that somebody's up all night long, all day long, to be able to answer your questions. Not a joke. Right? There's Brooke. You are here. I didn't know if you were still here. You hadn't said anything for a while. There's Brooke. Hi, Brooke. She says, I am here, Leo. You see, I didn't know if you were still here, because you had been quiet. You didn't say anything for a while, so I didn't know if you were still here. I just see numbers if no one says anything. Okay, so yes, you can buy it online. It's online everywhere, and you can buy it. In fact, I think Brooke bought it and had it sent to Australia. So yes, it is on. I believe it's on Amazon Australia now, but you can buy it anywhere online, and it'll ship there. And I think it was Brooke that said she got it there, right? Yeah. So Brooke said, yeah, she's in Central Coast, New South Wales. So yes, it does ship to Australia. So you can Google it. And you don't have to get it from Amazon. You can get it from my publisher if you want, which is Author House, or you can just use your search engines there in Australia, because you guys use Google as well, and they'll give you. I don't think it's in any bookstores in Australia, so you will have to have it shipped in, and that'll cost you a little bit more. If you buy it from my publisher, I think the shipping will be cheaper than if you buy it from Amazon, because I paid the shipping for that from my publisher, more of it or part of it. So it comes out of my commission, where Amazon charges you for it because they can't charge me for it, right? Because they can only charge me a flat fee for the sale of the book, right? So you can get it, but it'll cost you a little bit of money down under, because I have not shipped any to Australia to have in bookstores, but I'm sure you can get it from discount places online. You just got to look for it. I know it's there because I've been tracking it. It's been online for sale since last June. So we're talking, what is that, 10 months almost, or 8 months that it's been out there. So you can get it in Australia currently. See, Brooke went to Amazon. Brooke said Amazon. Yeah. Right. So it will get there. And I didn't ask Brooke how much she paid for shipping to get it there. And she didn't complain about it, because some people over there have said, Jesus, bro, it's almost as much as the book to get the book. But you can get it on Kindle or ebook, so it'll be cheaper if you want to do that instead of the hard copy of the book. But you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and run the commercial so you know what it looks like. let me run the commercial for the book right fast here. Where's my media here? Let me run the commercial for the book so you have an idea of what it looks like when you're going to buy it. Right, here we go.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide, online now.
Right. Thank you, Brooke. So let me put that up there. Brooke said that if you buy it from Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost anything for shipping. So if you pay for Prime, you get it for free. Okay. And then she's showing you the price, $28.54 Australian. So if you, Cassie was putting it up there on the name of it, and I clicked on it, unfortunately. Sorry, Cassie. And she was saying this. Yeah, so it's the reality about reality, returning to the old ways. I'll put that up on the screen. Penny put it all in one sentence. I was trying to click on Cassie's both, and the screen kept jumping up, and I was missing Cassie's first part of it. That's hilarious. Then I saw that Penny put that on there. So it's called the reality about reality, returning to the old ways. And it's on sale worldwide, online, worldwide, anywhere you want to buy it. You can buy it and have it shipped, except for the communist countries. North Korea, China, and Russia will not let that book go in there because it's about spirituality, and they don't allow people to have spirituality in those countries because they're communist. So as long as your country, wherever you're at, allows you to have freedom of religion and spirituality, you can buy my book and have it shipped to you. Otherwise, you have to have it shipped somewhere outside of that country and then pack it in and don't show it to anybody. Sneak it in. I don't suggest you do that. I suggest you move out of those countries. and go to a place where you're allowed your spiritual freedom. Okay, I love you guys. I'm going to go. It's now 5:45. I got to get off of here. It's getting dark in the other room, and I don't have any lights on for my mother, and she'll fall asleep if it becomes nighttime. All right, so I love you guys. Buy my book. Buy it on Kindle or buy it on ebook or buy the physical book and have it shipped to you. And take a look at it because it'll change the face of your soul. It will change your reality. That is why it's called the reality about reality, returning to the old ways, because it is about returning to the spiritual ways that were on this earth forever before they were corrupted into religions and then corrupted into institutions that they are today. All right. So I love you guys. Have a great night. This has been Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show.